Welcome to the live show. You know what time it is? It is your boy Genesis. It is currently 3:12 p.m. And of course, today's date is the 22nd of January 2025. 22 days into the new year. How are you doing? Have your year been a fantastic one so far? For me, God has been great. I'm just grateful to God, thankful that I have a beautiful family, and also that the legend, the OG, the 45th, now the 47th, is back in the White House, and he's going all in, ladies and gentlemen. Trump is going all in. He just signed up the $500 billion AI Stargate investment yesterday. It was it was just so beautiful to see. You know, a lot of people say, "Well, AI." Well, I don't know about AI, but the fact is, AI is moving fast. It's either the United States leads or some other country leads. So you don't want to be left behind. And I respect what Donald Trump did and said yesterday. Also, we're gonna watch his press interview from yesterday, and then we're gonna check everything going on in the United States out of as of today. Okay. A lot is going on. Elon Musk has a lot to say concerning the deal. Okay. Elon Musk has a lot to say concerning the deal. I don't know why, but he does have a lot to say. And it is like, okay, Elon, what do we have here? Okay, Elon, what do we have here? We're going to go check that out. But firstly, let's listen to the OG.
Have them, and we'll take a few questions if you want.
Can I ask you about some of the executive orders? You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer,
Sure.
right? So then if I can, among those you pardoned, DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything. But I can say this: murderers today are not even charged. You have murderers that aren't charged all over. You take a look at what's gone on in Philadelphia, take a look at what's gone on in LA, where people murder people and they don't get charged. These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing. I also say this: you go to Portland, where they wrapped police officers, shot police officers, nothing happened to anybody. You go to Seattle, where they took over a big chunk of the city and people died. Portland, a lot of people died. Wait a minute. And you go also take a look at Minneapolis, because I was there and I watched it. And if I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city wouldn't even exist today. People were killed and nobody went to jail. So these people have already served a long period of time, and I made a decision to give a pardon. Joe Biden gave a pardon yesterday to a lot of criminals. These are criminals that he gave a pardon to. And you should be asking that question. Why did he give a pardon to all of these people that committed crimes? Why did he give a pardon to the J6 Unselect Committee when they burned and destroyed all documents which showed that they did what was wrong, not me? Wait a minute. Why did they give a pardon to all of his relatives, his brother who made millions of dollars, to all these different people? He gave pardons. That's the question you should be answering. All right, go ahead. Yeah, please.
If I can just, can I
Tell
just
us a
follow
little bit about your
Steve, can I just
meeting.
follow up on that really fast?
No.
I just want to ask
Go
you,
ahead.
you said
Tell
you
us,
will.
tell us about your meeting with Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune. Did you reach any conclusion on this one big?
Pretty much. I think
bill?
we have a good situation now. It's been in some ways made simpler by Los Angeles because they're going to need a lot of money. And generally speaking, I think you'll find that a lot of Democrats are going to be asking for help. So I think maybe that makes it more one-sided. I think we're going to do very well. Look, we're going to take care of Los Angeles. I'm going there. I'm going to North Carolina, which has been abandoned by the Democrats. And I'm going to North Carolina very
Abandoned.
importantly first. I'll be there on Friday. And then I'm going from there to Los Angeles. And then I'm going to Nevada, and I'm really going to Nevada to thank them for the vote because we won Nevada overwhelmingly, and that's usually a Democrat vote. And I just want to go there to thank the people of Nevada for the big vote. So we'll be making that. Yeah, please.
The leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were freed following their pardons yesterday. At the time, back in 2021, you urged them to stand back and stand by. Is there now a place for them in the political conversation?
Well, we have to see. They've been given a pardon. I thought their sentences were ridiculous and excessive. One of the guys took down a flag that was an anti-American flag, and he was given years in jail. I don't know the exact number, but he was given many years in jail. I thought it was very excessive. And at least the cases that we looked at, these were people that actually love our country, so we thought a pardon would be appropriate, yeah.
Mr. President, is it also true in your conversations with Republicans today that you asked them to consider recess appointments for cabinet officials?
I think, yeah, if it's needed. I don't think it's going to be needed. Marco, as you know, got passed overwhelmingly with 99-0, which is pretty amazing. Marco's going to do a great job, Secretary of State. But he just got, I guess he was the first one and just got approved. That's some vote, 99-0, and the nothing was a vote that he would have gotten if we wanted to do it. But you know whose vote that was? Who's doing a great job right now as vice president.
Did you also talk about some sort of a trade or a deal involving wildfire relief in extension for a debt?
Well, what I really want to have done, I was talking about this with the guys back in the Oval Office. Los Angeles has massive amounts of water available to it. All they have to do is turn the valve, and that's the valve coming back from and down from the Pacific Northwest, where millions of gallons of water a week and a day, even in many cases, pours into California, goes all through California down to Los Angeles. And they turned it off. It's off now. The valve goes, it turns toward the Pacific Ocean, and all that water goes pouring into the Pacific Ocean. If they did what I told them to do, they wouldn't do it because politically they didn't think it was good. I think it's great politically. I think they're dead politically. What they've done, they've destroyed the city. What they've done to that city is unbelievable. The sprinklers, their sprinklers in there like these right here that you see, none of them had any water in them. They didn't have any water. The fire hydrants, 40% of them had no water. The brush was just dry. Everything was dry. The sprinklers on the lawn weren't allowed to even be used. So, you know, everything was dry, and it was an inferno. They created an inferno. So we're demanding that they turn the valve back toward Los Angeles right now. It's not even believable that they haven't done it. Just so you know, they have a valve. And it turns like, think of a sink, but multiply it times many thousands of times the size of it. It's massive. And you turn it back toward Los Angeles. Why aren't they doing it? They either have a death wish, they're stupid, or there's something else going on that we don't understand. But we want the water that they're throwing away to be used for California. And that includes the farmers of California. You know, when you drive up north, you see all of the land. I couldn't believe it. I was with Devin Nunes when he was a congressman and some other congressmen from the area, and we're driving up and we're on the highway, and I keep looking at these farms, and the land is bone dry, and then you'd see an acre, about an acre or 2 acres, with the most beautiful green plants growing in it, the most beautiful you've ever. It's a rich stuff, and you look at the soil, and it's so rich. That soil is almost the equivalent to like Iowa soil. It's phenomenal. It's got no water. But the reason it has no water, I said, do you have a drought? No. I said, what do you mean you don't have a drought? Look at the thing. It's dry as a bone. The reason you have like an acre is because they say you can farm 1 acre, but no more, because they didn't want to waste water. But they throw the water into the Pacific Ocean. These people are crazy. So we're going to be issuing an executive order demanding that they immediately let that water come down through California. Farmers, even people living in Beverly Hills. Now, those people have been a lot of them are wiped out. Believe it or not, you know, they were having restrictions, Larry, you know about this. they wanted to restrict you to 38 gallons of water a day. That sounds like a lot, but it's not. When you're a rich person and you like to take a shower, 38 gallons doesn't last very long. And they have all this water, and it's really good water. Up high, Pacific Northwest. Some comes in from Canada, a nice country, by the way. Comes in from Canada, and it comes all the way through California, and they're restricting it. You even have the half pipes, you know, the half pipes, the cut pipes, big ones, bigger than this room. And they're going all the way down, and they're bone dry, and they could be loaded up with water. No, but isn't it incredible that they don't do it? And it's to protect the Delta smelt. It's a fish that's doing poorly anyway. But I said, how are you protecting the Delta smelt by not giving it water? It's a fish. It needs water. Nobody can answer that question.
President Trump, TikTok, Mr. President.
Well, let me do this first.
Are you open to Elon buying TikTok?
Say it?
Are you open to Elon buying TikTok?
I would be if he wanted to buy it, yeah.
And on your inauguration,
I'd like Larry to buy it too. I have the right to make a deal. So the deal I'm thinking about, Larry, let's negotiate in front of the media. The deal, I think, is this, and I've met with owners of TikTok, the big owners. It's worthless if it doesn't get a permit. It's not like, oh, you can take the U.S. The whole thing is worthless. With a permit, it's worth like $1 trillion. So what I'm thinking about saying to somebody is buy it and give half to the United States of America, half, and we'll give you the permit. And they'll have a great partner, the United States. And they'll have something that's actually more valuable because they have the ultimate partner, and the United States will make it very worthwhile for them in terms of the permits and everything else. But so think of it, you have an asset that has no value or has $1 trillion value. It all depends on whether or not the United States gives the permit. So what I'm saying is let the United States give the permit, and the United States should get half. Sounds reasonable. What do you think?
Sounds like a good deal to me, Mr. President.
Yeah, he can afford it too.
Mr. President, you're a president who has long said that you back the blue, but aren't you sending the message that assaulting officers is okay with these pardons?
No, the opposite. In fact, I'm going to be letting 2 officers from Washington Police, D.C. I believe they're from D.C., but I just approved it. They were arrested, put in jail for 5 years because they went after an illegal, and I guess something happened where something went wrong. And they arrested the 2 officers and put them in jail for going after a criminal, a rough criminal, by the way. And I'm actually releasing. No, I am the friend of police, more than any president that's ever been in this office.
More than 400 of the people that you pardoned, though, assaulted officers. So I want to ask you about the Vice President, J.D. Vance. He said, this is a week ago, he said, if you committed violence on January 6th, obviously you should not be pardoned. Why is your Vice President wrong?
Well, only for one reason. They've served years in jail. They should not have served, excuse me, and they've served years in jail, and murderers don't even go to jail in this country. And we had 1,500. We have 16 under review. As you know, we commuted about 16 of them because it looks like they could have done things that were not acceptable for a full pardon. But these people have served years of jail, and their lives have been ruined. And in many cases, listen to me for a second. Stop interrupting. They've served years in jail, and if you look at the American public is tired of it. Take a look at the election. Just look at the numbers on the election. We won this election in a landslide because the American public is tired of people like you that are just one-sided, horrible people in terms of crime. You don't talk about all the people that have been killed and what happens to those murderers. Murderers get no time. You take a look at some of these DAs. They go after political opponents, but they don't go after people that shoot people in the street. They're caught. They know where they're living. They know everything. They don't even go up to pick them up anymore. They just let them live there. They know all about it. They have their pictures. They have the tape of the shooting, and they don't even go up and you're talking about this. No, we pardoned people that were treated unbelievably poorly. In the history of our country, there's never been anything take place like this. They're still looking for them, but they're not looking for the murderers, the people that are killing everybody. We are, though, and we're getting them out of the country. We just started that. We're getting them out of the country, and they're going to be gotten out of the country fast. They came in illegally from jails and from prisons. They killed many people. Some of them killed many people. About 50% of them killed more than one person. They were released into our country. That's what we're focused on, not the kind of nonsense you're talking about.
You've called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently along
The
the
war
front
should have
battle
never
lines?
started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. But that couldn't happen because the election was rigged. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, there's been some debate within your orbit over whether or not to keep or eliminate H-1B visas. What's your position on that? Do you want to keep H-1Bs or do you want to get
Well,
rid of them?
I like both sides of the argument, but I also like very competent people coming into our country, even if that involves them training and helping other people that may not have the qualifications they do. But I don't want to stop. And I'm not just talking about engineers. I'm talking about people at all levels. We want competent people coming into our country. And HB1, I know the program very well. I use the program. Maitre d's, wine, experts, even waiters, high quality waiters. You got to get the best people. Now, then you go into people like Larry, and he needs engineers, and Massa needs, and this gentleman needs engineers like nobody's ever needed engineers, right? So we have to have the quality people coming in. Now, by doing that, we're expanding businesses, and that takes care of everybody. So I'm sort of on both sides of the argument, but what I really do feel is that we have to let really competent people, great people come into our country, and we do that through the H-1 program.
Mr. President, are you looking to impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico in an effort to force negotiations sooner on USMCA?
No, it's really not on USMCA. It has nothing to do with that. They've allowed, both of them, Canada very much so, they've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. They could have stopped them, and they didn't. And they've killed 300,000 people last year, my opinion, have been destroyed by drugs, by fentanyl. The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive. The fentanyl coming through Mexico is massive. And people are getting killed, and families are being destroyed. I mean, the son gets killed, and the family is a basket case for the rest of their lives. I mean, I've seen mothers that thought they'd heal. They never heal. They say it gets worse with time. It gets worse with time. They lose their boy. They lose their baby. They lose their young daughter to fentanyl poisoning. And I had that talk with President Xi the other day, too, of China. I said, we don't want that crap in our country. We got to stop it. I would have stopped it. I had a deal with him where he was going to give the maximum penalty, which in China is the death penalty for drug dealing. And he was all said he was going to give the maximum penalty to fentanyl dealers. If they send to the United States, they were going to get the death penalty. And of course, Biden didn't pick that up. I had that deal all done. It was all wrapped up. We were going to have it done. And then the election went, let's put it nicely, didn't go the proper way. I'm trying to be nice about it. It was rigged. And we had an incompetent president elected, and he never followed up on that deal. But he should have followed up, because if they got the death penalty, they wouldn't be sending fentanyl to Mexico, Canada, and other places.
Mr. President, how much will the
We're thinking about that too. We're talking about a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada.
How soon? How soon on those tariffs?
Probably February 1st is the date we're looking
Do you have
at.
an
For
update on-
Mexico and China, we're talking about approximately 25%.
Update on the Gaza ceasefire, and are you planning to travel to the Middle East soon?
We're thinking about going to the Middle East, not yet. We have a thing called the hostages are coming back going on right now, and they are coming back. Some of them have been very damaged. You look at the young lady with her hand practically blown off. You know how that happened, right? Did you know how that happened? When you find out, you're not going to be too happy because it was terrible. But The hostages are starting to come back. If I weren't here, they wouldn't be back ever. They would have never come back. They would have all died. If this were done a year earlier, if Biden would have done this deal a year and a half, 2 years ago, or frankly, it should have never happened. October 7th should have never happened. Nobody should be dead. But through weakness, they allowed it to happen, and then it was a disaster from them. But you go back just 6 months ago, many of these young people were living. You know, young people don't die like that. They're just dying. And young people aren't dying at 22 and 23 years old. They don't die. But now they're dying, and you wonder why they're dying. They're being killed, and they have been killed. But they say 6 months ago, you would have had 11 more living hostages. Think of that. 6 months ago. But Biden couldn't get it done, and it was only the imposition that I put on as a deadline that got it done. But it's a very sad situation. It should have never happened. I'll tell you, 2 things should have never happened. 3 things. Inflation should have never happened. It would have never happened, except for what they did to energy and their crazy spending. And Ukraine would have never happened. Never. By the way, Russia never would have gone into Ukraine. I had a very strong understanding with Putin that it would have never, ever happened. He disrespected Biden. Very simple. He disrespects people. He's smart. He understands. He disrespected Biden. And also, the Middle East would have never happened because Iran was broke. They had no money. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. It would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. But it did happen. So this is the cards I've been given. And we're getting the hostages back. That would have never happened under Biden. They would have never come back. They were just dying not that slowly. They were dying or being killed. But that was what was happening.
Are you going to keep sending weapons to Ukraine, or are you going to turn off the tap soon?
Well, we're looking at that. We're talking to Zelensky. We're going to be talking with President Putin very soon. And we'll see how it all happens. We're going to look at it very soon. One thing I do feel, the European Union should be paying a lot more than they're paying because under Biden, I mean, we're in there for $200 billion more. Now, it affects them more than it affects us. We have an ocean in between, right? Little thing called an ocean. The European Union should equalize. We're in there for $200 billion more than the European Union. I mean, what are we, stupid? I guess the answer is yes, because they must think so. But the European Union takes advantage of us tremendously on trade, and they now take advantage of, and always have. If I didn't get involved years ago, in my first term, one of the first things I noticed was that they're not paying enough. They're not paying. And a lot of those countries weren't even paying. The NATO countries, they weren't paying. Only 7 out of 28 were paying. We were one of them. And Poland was one. And they had a few of them that were paying, and some were paying very proudly. Usually the closer to the borderline of Russia they were, the faster they paid, okay? The ones that were further away tended not to pay so fast. And one thing on that, I think they should lift their number not to 2%, but to 5%. NATO should be at 5%, not at 2%. 2% is ridiculous, yeah.
The U.S. President Xi, in your conversation about Ukraine, you asked him to get involved in helping settle that. Can you tell us about that?
I did, yeah. I said, you ought to get it settled because he's not done very much on that. He's got a lot of power, like we have a lot of power. I said, you ought to get it settled. We did discuss it, yeah.
Do you intend to continue selling products that benefit yourself personally while you're president?
Well, I don't know if it benefited. I don't know where it is. I don't know much about it other than I launched it. I heard it was very successful. I haven't checked it. Where is it today?
You made a lot of money, sir.
How much?
Several $1 billion, it seems like, in the last several days.
Several billion? That's peanuts for these guys.
President Biden, can you give us some sense, broadly speaking?
Yeah, he wrote me a nice letter. I mean, I did open it last night.
Conversation about Ukraine. You asked him to get involved in helping settle that. Can you tell us about that?
I did, yeah. I said, you ought to get it settled because he's not done very much on that. He's got a lot of power, like we have a lot of power. I said, you ought to get it settled. We did discuss it, yeah.
Do you intend to continue selling products that benefit yourself personally while you're president?
Well, I don't know if it benefited. I don't know where it is. I don't know much about it other than I launched it. I heard it was very successful. I haven't checked it. Where is it today?
Now, a lot of people invested thousands of dollars in Trump coin. Some people made a lot of money and some people lost a lot of money. But for the most part, if you didn't like get into it when it was $2, $3, if you got into it when it was like $60, $70, yeah, you probably lost money.
You made a lot of money, sir.
How much?
Several $billion, it seems like, in the last several days.
Several billion? That's peanuts for these guys.
So you talked about the letter from President Biden. Can you give us some sense, broadly speaking?
Yeah, he wrote me a
about
nice letter. I mean, I did open it last night. And I didn't know. Peter said, did you get the letter? I said, wait a minute, let's see the letter. It's sort of a tradition. You put it in the drawer, especially of the beautiful Resolute desk, right? And I opened the drawer, and there it was. It said to number 47. And it was a very nice letter. I mean, I could show it because I think it was a nice letter. Maybe I will. I think it,
what did you say in terms of
just basically, it was a little bit of an inspirational type letter, you know. Enjoy it, do a good job. Important, very important, how important the job is. But I think it was a nice letter. I think I should let people see it because it was a positive for him in writing it. I appreciated the letter.
Mr. President, were security concerns at all a factor when deciding to move your inauguration indoors?
No, not at all. No, not at all. It was just cold. Look, if we would have, you know, I just went out to the helicopter, right, we said goodbye. That's a tradition. As long as before it used to be a stagecoach, and then helicopters came along. But that's been a tradition. You go out and you do that. And we stood there for 10 minutes, and I'll tell you what, people would not have been able to get through that day. That was cold. It was sort of interesting. Don't let the sun fool you. Tell me something. Sunny days can get very cold, can't they? Because that was so freezing yesterday. You couldn't have gotten through it. It would have been. And the answer is no, it wasn't security. With that being said, I thought the Capitol, the Rotunda, was beautiful. 72 degrees, unbelievable sound. You know, it's like being in an opera house. I could see people wanting to do it there rather than outside.
why did you remove John Bolton's security clearance, sir?
Because I think there was enough time. We take a job. You take a job, you want to do a job. We're not going to have security on people for the rest of their lives. Why should we? I thought he was a very dumb person, but I used him well because every time people saw me come into a meeting with John Bolton standing behind me, they thought that he'd attack them because he was a warmonger. He's the one that got us involved, along with Cheney and a couple of others, convinced Bush, which was a terrible decision, to blow up the Middle East. You know, we blew up the Middle East and we left. We got nothing out of it except a lot of death. We killed a lot of people. And John Bolton was, one of those guys, a stupid guy. But no, you can't have that for life. You shouldn't expect it for life.
That meeting that you mentioned with President Zelensky, will that take place here, and when and where will you meet with?
I don't know. I mean, look, President Zelensky would like to have peace. He's told me that very strongly. He'd like to have peace, but it takes two to tango. We'll see what happens.
When will you meet with President Putin?
Anytime they want, I'll meet. I'd like to see that end. Millions of people are being killed, and they're being killed. It's a vicious situation, and they're now largely soldiers. A lot of people have been killed in the cities. They look like demolition sites. Buildings, massive buildings bombed and coming down. The thing with Ukraine is that many more people died than you're reporting. You're not reporting the real numbers, and I'm not blaming you for that. I'm blaming maybe our government for not wanting to release those numbers. Many more people died than what you know about. When those big buildings come down and they say 2 people were injured, no. Many people, thousands of people are being killed. But the real killing now is on the war front. It's a very flat land. And the only thing that stops a bullet is somebody's body. And you have young soldiers. So Russia's lost about 800,000 soldiers now. Ukraine's lost about 600 or 700,000. I think the numbers are low that they're giving out. But they've lost massive numbers of young soldiers. And that war should stop. It's very flat, it's beautiful farmland, and it's flat and really beautiful in a different kind of a way, but they don't have any protection. The only thing that stops a bullet is a body. And those bodies are stopping a lot of bullets, and they're being decimated, both sides.
Your conversation with President Xi, what did you tell him in terms of when to expect tariffs? And what can he do to avoid them?
About which one?
Your
About
conversation
tariffs?
with President
We didn't talk too much about tariffs, other than he knows where I stand. Look, I put large tariffs on China. I've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. Until I was president, China never paid not 10 cents to the United States. With me, they paid hundreds of $600 billion or so, or more than that even, of tariffs. And if I didn't do that, you wouldn't have a steel mill open in the United States right now. You wouldn't have one steel mill open in the United States. So what I did is I saved the steel industry. I saved other industries too with other tariffs. Other countries are big abusers also. You know, it's not just China. China's an abuser, but the European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our cars at all. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take very much. We have a $350 billion deficit with the European Union. They treat us very, very badly. So they're going to be in for tariffs. It's the only way you're going to get back. It's the only way you're going to get fairness. You can't get fairness unless you do that. But the European Union's treated us very badly. But essentially, everybody treats us badly. You know, everybody treats us badly. Yes, go ahead. Because we allow them to. Because we've had stupid people doing this, and we can't have. I'd like to have these three people negotiate for us, just for 1 week, and we'd be a rich country again. But we'll be rich.
Mr. President, on AI data centers, will you rescind President Biden's executive order that opens up federal lands?
On which centers?
On data centers. Will you rescind President Biden's executive order that opens up federal lands for data centers and energy production?
No, I wouldn't do that. That sounds to me like it's something that I would like. I'd like to see federal lands opened up for data centers. I think they're going to be very important. Again, we have a lot of competition for that. So it's an honor to have these three great people, great CEOs and great geniuses, all three. It's an honor that they want to come to our country, but we're going to make it as easy as we can for them because other countries want them to. I'm going to have to go now. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Do you have TikTok on your phone?
No, but I think I might put it there. I think I'll get it right now. By the way, again, we won the young vote. I think I won it through TikTok. So I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Yes, y'all. I see mobile app in the building. Welcome. Okay, so as you all know, the priest from yesterday, she had a lot to say, y'all. We're going to run that back real fast, and then we're going to move on. She was doing way too much. I ain't going to cap. Way too much, but we're going to run that back real fast.
Tonight, the bishop takes on Trump and pleads with him face-to-face to, quote, have mercy. The Episcopal Bishop of Washington pleading with President Trump to show compassion towards undocumented immigrants and the LGBTQ community today. A dramatic moment coming during her sermon at today's National Prayer Service. I'm going to speak to the bishop in just a moment, but first, so everyone can understand exactly what happened, I want to play for you the moment and show you at the same time on the screen the president's reaction.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
All right, Reverend Marianne Edgar Buddy, the Bishop at Washington National Cathedral, is now out front. And Bishop, I appreciate your time and your tone there, so serious and genuine. You see him, he's stone-faced, he then looks down, but he's listening to every word you say. As you made that personal plea to him, what were you looking at him in that moment? What kind of response were you perhaps hoping for in that moment?
I was looking at the president because I was speaking directly to him. I was also, frankly, as you do in every sermon, speaking to everyone who was listening through that one-on-one conversation with the president, reminding us all that in the people that are frightened in our country, the two groups of people that I mentioned are our fellow human beings, and that they have been portrayed in all throughout the political campaign in the harshest of lights that I wanted to counter as gently as I could with a reminder of their humanity and their place in our wider community. And I was speaking to the president because I felt that he has this moment now where he feels charged and empowered to do what he feels called to do. And I wanted to say, you know, there is room for mercy. There's room for a broader compassion. We don't need to portray with a broad cloth in the harshest of terms some of the most vulnerable people in our society who are, in fact, our neighbors, our friends, our children, our friends' children, and so forth.
So you spoke, I like how you use the word gently, because it was gentle. I mean, it was intense and passionate, but yet it was gentle. It was not ugly or confrontational. Wouldn't expect it to be, but these are hard things to talk about in that context. You spoke obviously about undocumented migrants, also the LGBT community, the two communities you're talking about. I wanted to play a little bit more of what you said, and also, again, the president's reaction at that moment.
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives. The vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away.
What made you decide to say all that today?
Well, these are the people that I know.
Okay, here we go. IRS agent.
People for me.
He's an IRS agent,
people that I know. So I wanted to speak on their behalf. I wanted to present a vision of what unity can look like in this country that is transcending of differences and viewpoints and acknowledging our common humanity. Yes. I wanted to speak in such a way that reflected that dignity and respect, but I also wanted to bring into that space the real humanity of the people that I was referencing.
Now, he was asked about that because obviously there were cameras in there. People saw that interaction and they saw it. He was asked about your service afterward, and here's what he said.
Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no. They could do much better.
From him, honestly, Bishop, it's tame. He could have said much.
And the thing is, she's trying to be calm. She's trying to be gentle. Yeah, I said it. I told him to have mercy. Yeah, you ain't no priest, really. Really. This is activism. You're being an activist. This is what it is. Because how do you know they don't pay taxes? How do you know they pay taxes, rather? How do you know? Are you an IRS agent? I mean, I'm not gonna say I take it back when I say she ain't no priest, because I don't know our relationship with God. But what do you mean by, they pay taxes? How do you know they pay taxes? Are you in the IRS? That's being an activist. You're supposed to pray for the president, for the United States, to God. Not telling the president they're gays, they're lesbian, they're illegal immigrant.
Been much stronger than that, but obviously he made he made his feelings known in that context. But we know, right? He'll say what he thinks, and he could have said much more. What's your response to him in that?
Well, I agree with you. It was a very muted response. I wasn't expecting I keep my expectations low whenever I preach, Aaron. I can't always measure impact by body language or even what people say afterwards. And so I have to let all of that go. I speak from what I believe I've been given to say and let it go from there. But it was a respectful response. He didn't like it. He said so. He said we could do better. Some of the other comments I've received haven't been as kind or has been as muted, shall we say. And one of the things I was trying to get across is that we can actually have these conversations in a respectful way.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine. But thank you so much for.
Some people would say they support her. She should talk to the president like that. She should talk to Trump like that. Because come on, what do you mean by you want to deport people? You want to do this, you want to do that? Well, go tell that to Laken Riley's mother, okay? Go tell that to the tens of parents that are grieving their dead children that was murdered, raped, killed by illegal immigrants. Go tell that to these parents. I mean, she's talking all soft and saying, you know what, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. Of course, Ellen DeGeneres is going to tell you to have mercy. What do you expect from Ellen? Ellen is going to tell you to have mercy because Ellen ain't no Laken Riley's parent. Yeah, go ask Laken Riley's parent and we're going to find out if they want the 47th president to have some mercy on illegal immigration. It's called illegal. Nobody's saying legal migration. If you're coming into the United States and you came in here the right way, what do you expect? Come into the United States the right way. Go through Homeland Security. Man, somebody come take Ellen out of here. Well, anyway, the OG. Trump already has way too much to say. He already replied her. He's demanding for an apology. Check this out.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
Here we go.
There are
look at JD.
Gay, lesbian, and
look at JD Vance. JD looking like, all right, get it out. Here we go. Go. Look at JD Vance's face. Oh, God.
Transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
Look at JD Vance. No, look at JD Vance, y'all. Look at JD Vance, y'all. Yeah, this man, 2028. Yeah, 2028 JD for sure.
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
President Trump is calling on the Episcopal Bishop of Washington, who you saw right there, to apologize to the American people for those remarks. The Reverend Marion Edgar Budde delivering that plea to the president at Tuesday's National Cathedral prayer service. As Trump looked on, she also pled for mercy for immigrants.
The vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away.
After the service, Trump voiced his displeasure with her.
Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no. They could do much better.
Shortly after midnight, the president escalated his criticism of the bishop with this Truth Social post, quote, "The so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart." Trump goes on to say, Reverend Budde owes the public an apology. Joining our panel, Haima Moore, former chief of staff to DNC chair Jamie Harrison, former regional comms director for Biden in 2020. Stephen Collinson, the big picture here, this Reverend, the Bishop Budde using the pulpit to make this plea for mercy, and of course, Trump's response. What does it all?
She shouldn't have said anything about illegal immigrants. And, I mean, you can voice your opinion. It is free speech, okay? Freedom of speech. She can say whatever she wanted to say. However, her duty was to pray for the leadership, who happens to be sitting right there, the 47th president of the United States, to pray for the 47th president, to pray for his family, to pray for protection over the United States, and to pray to God for wisdom for the president. That's what she was there to do. And she's pleading for illegal migrant. Illegal, keyword, illegal migrant. What are you doing? Even the Bible says, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. The law of the land is illegal immigration is unconstitutional. Why are you trying to change the law of the land? People came in here illegally and you're saying, have mercy, have mercy. I am a legal migrant myself. I came into the United States, came through Homeland Security. I went through Homeland Security. I went through USCIS. It took me 5 years to become a United States citizen. I waited my turn. Okay? So I don't understand why. I guess a lot of people say, well, you're lucky. You're lucky. That's why you're talking like that. You should not be talking because you are a migrant yourself. Yes, I get it. But Elon Musk is a migrant as well. He was born in Pretoria, South Africa. Okay. But he came here legally. Like I came here legally. I waited and I became a United States citizen. So it's like, what are people thinking about? Talking about have mercy on illegal immigrants. What do you want Laken Riley's parent to say? Or what about the illegal migrant that set a woman ablaze in the subway in New York and watched her burn? In New York, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't like some other country in the world. This is the United States in New York, and this person set this woman ablaze in the subway and watched her burn. Illegal migrant. This is why a lot of people supported Trump for the 47th president of the United States. And they said, you know what? Take them out. People voted for Trump just for the sole reason to deport illegal migrants and bring back the economy and stop the wars. Like, this is one of the main reasons why he became the 47th.
I'll say to you.
Well, Trump has been feted by internet billionaires, foreign leaders, his entire party for like 2 days during this whole inaugural ceremonies. That was the first time that he's seen any kind of dissent at all. I think it's a reminder that there is opposition and fear to what Trump is doing. In the interest of balance, to his point that the bishop had pulled the church into politics, I did think that some of the speakers, some of the preachers that were at the inaugural ceremony were quite politicized as well. So it's not just coming from one side, but I think the president is going to get quite a limited amount of pushback publicly just because of the way these presidential events work. So it was very interesting whether that will be a rallying point for opposition, which we haven't seen this time around. We're going to have to wait and see.
You know, we just got to get off this fantasy that members of the clergy are not political. And I will go even further. You know, look at Franklin Graham's remarks from the inauguration. And with Joe Biden sitting there watching on, talking about the dark times of the last several years and how Donald Trump was sent here by God or whatever. You know, I don't want to paraphrase, I want to misquote. The point is, it had political undertones too. And it happens all the time. And it should not shock anybody. The Pope recently weighed in on deportations. Now, many people, have their views about this particular Pope, but just this idea that we ought to rend our garments and be so shocked every time somebody is on a pulpit and says something political is just sort of silly.
It's worth noting, I think, that the idea of mercy. And I mean, look, your point is well taken. People pick and choose which scripture they would like to focus on. Reminder that Jesus talked about mercy. Let's watch. We had a reminder of that from the grandson of Jimmy Carter at the recent funeral when he, in the pulpit at the National Cathedral, read from the Beatitudes.
They've tried everything. They raided his home. FBI raided his home. Okay. They indicted this man. Now he is the first convicted felon to walk into the White House as president. They've tried everything, the law, everything they tried. You know, he had 2 assassination attempts on his life. Some people say it's even 3. So it's like they've tried everything. Now the only thing that can be done is beg. Okay, all you can do now is beg, plead in Jesus' name, and use God to beg him. This is the only thing you can do now. You've tried everything. It's not working. It hasn't worked. It will never work. Now you know this ain't gonna work. The only way is to beg and plead. And that's what they're doing. I get it. Now they're bringing Jesus, the great King of Kings, into this. I see.
Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth.
Okay, here we go.
Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy.
Of course, that is not Donald Trump's favorite Bible verse. He was asked what is his favorite Bible verse, and he answered with, it's a little more Old Testament than new, shall we say. Watch.
Is there a favorite Bible verse or Bible story that has informed your thinking or your character through life, sir?
Well, I think many. I mean, you know, when we get into the Bible, I think many, so many. And people talk an eye for an eye. You can almost say that. That's not a particularly nice thing.
A plea for mercy and a response from Trump that is basically an eye for an eye.
I mean, look, this is the United States of America. No parishioner, no pastor, no preacher had to ask their president for mercy. That's just the bottom line. And so I think the fact that we're here right now asking our president for mercy on us is a testament to what Donald Trump ran.
It's not on you, bro. It's the stuff, man, bro. Say mercy. Have mercy on us. Here we go. This is why they lost. This is why Democrat Party lost in 2024. They're going to lose in 2028 and 2032. This is why. Changing the script, changing the narrative to make sure it fits into whatever ideology they're trying to put out there. She never said, have mercy on us, Americans. No, she's saying, have mercy on illegal immigrants. Have mercy by not saying that there are only 2 genders, which is male and female. That's essentially what she's trying to say. She's saying, consider the gay and lesbian and everything. Do whatever you want to do, okay? Nobody's going to come in your home and come check you what gender you are. Whatever you want to do in your home, do, okay? But coming out here and saying they're scared of their lives. They're scared. Who is scared, actually? You have freedom to be whatever you want to be. Go out there, live your life. Stop looking for special treatment. Okay? You want a flag. You want that. You want this. You want a day. You want a month. You want that. You want a group of, you want a section of the street to yourself. You don't deserve any special treatment. Okay? No special treatment. Everybody live your life. Okay? Yeah, all those days of special treatment is over. Okay? It's over. So nobody's begging for, oh, we're begging for mercy. Oh, mercy. No, this ain't no mercy. Okay. Ain't no mercy. Live your life like everybody else. Go to work your butt off, take care of your kids, take care of your family, pay your bills, and get it moving. Okay?
And what we think he will govern as president. And so that's just very sad.
Kristen, there is this idea, I mean, this reality that Donald Trump, any president of the United States, should be the president for all Americans. Yeah. Are we leaving that behind?
I don't think that we're leaving that behind. I don't think a conflict between a president and a religious figure is actually all that new. President Obama famously clashed with bishops over a number of different issues. And I just am trying to always think of what would happen if the shoe was on the other foot. If you had a Democratic president in the audience and a Catholic bishop had gotten up and made a plea for the unborn, would we be having the same kind of conversation? The reason why we're having a different conversation is because of the midnight tweets. And that is where I think things get a little bit, this isn't just about a president, running into conflict with a religious leader who has found pieces of scripture that may differ or they believe differ with the president's agenda. It's is Donald Trump going to pick every single fight? We've got a long 4 years ahead of us. Donald Trump may well pick every single fight. I see you smiling, Elliot. He very well may. But this is the picking of every single fight. Is it going to be the kind of thing that will exhaust Americans and take the focus away from the popular things in his agenda that he would like to do?
I think to your point, Nancy Pelosi has been called a lot of things by some other Catholics, including a baby killer. Nancy Pelosi has never handled those remarks like Donald Trump did. So I think the difference is people feel like they have to ask Donald Trump for mercy. Nancy Pelosi and other people, other members of the Democratic Party, do not treat people like that when they disagree with them, including clergy.
Elliot?
They're scared. They're scared, y'all. They're scared because finally daddy's home. Most kids who don't have fathers can throw tantrums, okay? But when my daughter sees me around, she knows this ain't the time to be playing around and making sure I ain't putting myself the right way. I have to conduct myself like I have some sense because daddy's home. This is what is going on right here. I have to make sure my room is clean. I have to make sure I put my plates in the sink. I have to make sure I clean up after myself. My toys would go back in my toy basket. That's what happens when I'm home. That's what happens when the OG is back, okay? Trump knows. Okay? He knows how to handle all of this stuff. And people are so childish that they don't want to clean up after themselves, okay? They don't want to be adults. Most people don't want to go to work. Now he signed DEI. He signed against DEI. He said every federal employee must come back to work. It's like these are like common sense, y'all. Common sense stuff. People don't like it. People don't like common sense stuff. And that is home. Adults are back in the White House and they don't like it.
I was looking at Kristen, who I just don't think we ought to both sides how people respond to religious leaders they don't agree with, because to Kristen's point, everybody's a little bit guilty. But I just get back to the original point. Members of the clergy have been saying spicy things from the pulpit for millennia. Martin Luther King, there were political undertones to his comments as well. I think it's a fair point that is Donald Trump going to spend these 4 years when he ought to be fixing the economy, picking fights with Episcopal bishop? And again, it's an Episcopal bishop. If there's anybody who's going to go off from the pulpit, you ought not be surprised. Sorry, this is
I don't know that
talking.
go off is like the right.
Right, I know.
Like
Sorry.
Episcopalians typically don't go off.
Okay.
I would not say that that anger was the eminent emotion there.
Through,
as an Episcopalian,
through
myself.
clenched waspy reserve from the pulpit.
Socially aware.
What going off entails if you're Episcopalian is fairly restrained.
I'm going to be canceled from this. All right.
You want the last word, Stephen?
Donald Trump is going to spend the next 4 years fighting every fight because he thinks that is what's good for him. So,
Man, please. Man, please.
We're starting to see President Donald.
They already had the most signed executive order in 48 hours. Matter of fact, the first night, he signed about 200 executive orders. The first night, this man is 78 years old. Okay. 78 years old. He started the day around like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. He got sworn in around 12 noon. He continued to work until like 2 a.m. the next day. And he still went to the ball. He danced. He gave people a lot of like gestures to talk about. It's like, this man is 78 years old. You're there in your home at 35. You can't move. You can't move. You're sleeping all day. And this man is 70 years old. If this man is not an inspiration to you, then I don't know. I don't know what is going to inspire you. If Trump doesn't inspire you to go hard, to focus on yourself, to take care of your family, take care of your kids, be a patriot, I don't think you're ever going to get inspired. Because when you take a look at his kids, you take a look at Eric, Don Jr., Byron, Ivanka, every one of them, you see that they've turned out nice. They've turned out to be good kids. You can say whatever you want to say about this man, but take a look at his kids. Oh, his kids are this. Take a look at his kids. Well-behaved, well-spoken, skillful communication. Okay. Look, I can't go back and forth with everybody, man.
Trump's immigration policies go into effect. Officials tell CNN that the U.S. military is sending thousands of additional troops to the southern U.S. border. This comes just 2 days after President Trump ordered the military to step up its presence there. About 2,200 active duty forces are already at the border as part of Joint Task Force North. They're mostly performing support roles for Customs and Border Patrol. Officials say the new arrivals will be doing much of the same, as they're not authorized to perform any sort of law enforcement role. Let's bring in Natasha Bertrand, who's at the Pentagon for us. So, Natasha, what more do we know at this point?
Yeah, Zane, so we know at this point that the U.S. military is ordering thousands of additional active duty troops to the border to augment Customs and Border Patrol activities and mission operations down there. But they're not going to be engaged in any kind of law enforcement role, because that is actually banned by a law, by a centuries-old law called Posse Comitatus, which prevents the U.S. military from being used domestically for law enforcement purposes. So they're primarily going to be, doing things like data entry, transportation of migrants around different facilities, intelligence support, as well as some additional support in air operations. But they're not going to be engaging extensively in the day-to-day with migrants. But still, this is significant because it does make good on President Trump's promise just earlier this week that he is going to augment the presence of the U.S. military at the border. Now, as you said, there are roughly 2,200 active duty troops already at the border, and they are supported by Texas National Guard contingent there. And so what this is going to do is essentially lay the groundwork, we're told, for an even bigger military footprint to be sent in the coming weeks and months to the border. This is not, something that the president can, just in terms of ordering them to engage in law enforcement functions. This is something that the president has the authority to do under the Insurrection Act. And he has said, in an executive order issued Monday, that if within 90 days he and the Secretary of Defense determine that the border is not under control and that more resources need to be used to control the flow of migrants across the border, then he can invoke the Insurrection Act, which would then allow the U.S. military to perform those law enforcement functions like arrests, searches, and seizures, as well as seizing drugs. And so this is something that we need to watch for. But for now, this is really just President Trump and the Department of Defense making good on their promise to augment, Customs and Border Patrol, as well as DHS more broadly, their resources at the southern border, as they have been stretched thin in recent years with the ongoing flow of migrants across the U.S.-Mexico border, Zane.
All right, Natasha Bertrand, live for us there. Thank you so much. All right, Donald Trump's new border czar says that deportation operations have actually already begun. Tom Homan told Fox News earlier that ICE agents arrested 308 serious criminals in the past 24 hours. The president says that ICE agents can now make arrests at churches and at schools, which were previously considered off limits because they are sensitive places. Julius Vargas Jones joins us live now from the U.S.-Mexican border in California, which is, of course, ground zero for the immigration battle. So, Julia, just the fact that these raids, this rounding up of undocumented immigrants, these arrests have actually already begun. Just talk us through what the reaction is where you are, especially because California is a sanctuary state.
Yeah, exactly, Zane. Look, people are scared. We're talking to folks who are saying it's fear and uncertainty. That's what's being brought here, both for people who are in the immigration system. So folks who are already in the process, who have a piece of paper, Zane, that says that they can stay in the United States through their immigration process. They are quite fearful at this point because they don't know what will happen. There's just been so many changes. And yes, California is a sanctuary state. It's also home to dozens of sanctuary cities. But at this point, people don't know, and officials here don't know, people who work with migrants don't know what will come of this. There's just been too much so quickly. We spoke yesterday with a family from Venezuela who came over and who said, look, yes, we got our appointment for asylum. We had our initial interview, but we don't know if this program will even be standing by the time that we get to the end of this process. And another thing that happened that I think is important to note is that these organizations along here, the southern border in California, who have been working in partnership with federal authorities like Catholic Charities, which we visited yesterday, and we spoke with the CEO, who told us, look, they're saying they're not going to release migrants to our care any longer. So it raises a lot of questions of what will happen to these people. He said to us, they've since 2021, once the Remain in Mexico policy was lifted and migrants started to be able to stay in the United States while they waited for their date in court, they have been key to helping about 400,000 people to get on their way in the United States to make it to their date in court. And now where will they go? Will they be held in detention centers here in the United States? Will they be dropped off in these cities across the U.S. border to be on their own, or will they be told to stay in Mexico? All of this just adding to the uncertainty, Zane, that we're feeling here at the U.S.-Mexico border.
President Donald Trump's promise of mass deportations in the U.S. is causing panic and anxiety among immigrant communities. His administration issuing new directives, including one that allows immigration authorities to arrest people near and inside places previously considered off limits, and that includes schools and churches. CNN's Ed Lavandera visited one Texas city that's now preparing for raids.
Good morning, Cactus Elementary!
Every school day at Cactus Elementary starts like this. Moments of patriotism and reflection with a high-energy dose of inspiration from Principal T.J. Funderburg. You do that every morning?
Yes, sir.
When I looked out on the student body this morning, I mean, it's quite something to think that we're in the Texas Panhandle, and that's what your student body looks like.
It's always very eye-opening to people that come here. We've got 13, 14 different languages, all these different cultures represented. And yeah, we're up here in the heart of the Texas Panhandle. Everybody think it'd be farm and ranching country and kids in cowboy hats, and we've got just about a little bit of everything.
The population in Cactus, Texas is about 3,000 people, but the diversity is staggering. There's an African restaurant, safari restaurant and halal meat. There's an Asian grocery store. There's a Mexican butcher shop. There's a Guatemalan grocery. There's also an Islamic center. What draws so many immigrants and migrants here to a community like this is the work, and it is brutal, back-breaking work. There is a meat processing plant that runs 24 hours a day. There are dairy farms that run nonstop. These are the kinds of jobs that the United States economy and food supply rely on every day. It's also the kind of work that only immigrants, by and large, are willing to do. There are
Okay, so what is the solution? What are they trying to say? It's okay. Open the borders and let them come in. Because why make all these types of videos? Oh, they're a Mexican restaurant, they're an African restaurant, they're Indian restaurant, there's this and that. So what? So what? No, just let me know. So what? So what? There's a meat plant right here. They open 24/7. So what? So it's okay to come in here illegally. That's what. So it's okay. Because this man is not talking about, they keep saying immigrants are willing to do. No, he is not talking about immigrant. He's saying illegal immigrant. There's difference, okay? Illegal and legal. I mean, how hard can this be? Illegal and legal. It's easy. There's difference, right? If you are an illegal immigrant and if you are a legal immigrant. How hard can that be? Yes, baby.
Towns like Cactus, Texas, all over the country. And with President Donald Trump promising to carry out mass deportations, a sense of fear and uncertainty looms over these streets. What are you hearing specifically from people?
They're scared. They don't know if they're gonna be able to stay here. You know, a lot of them have been here for decades. They've built their lives here. Their kids are here. You know, everyone they know is here.
Elizabeth Oliveros grew up in Cactus, the daughter of immigrants who became citizens and earned their living working in the city's meat processing plant. She went away to college, became a lawyer, and moved back to Cactus to work as an immigration attorney. And if there were to be mass deportations here in this city, what would happen to it?
It'd be quite empty. I think there's a lot of people here that don't have status, that keep a lot of the businesses, the smaller businesses around here running. So if immigrants leave, I don't know where they're gonna find workers as hardworking as some of the immigrants.
As we walked the streets of Cactus, it was clear that most residents, regardless of their immigration status, didn't want to speak with us on camera, and especially didn't want to talk about President Trump's deportation dreams.
You know, I don't like politics. I don't like.
The fear among many in this town and other agricultural communities across the country is that vital food production would be paralyzed and communities torn apart. The meat processing plant here says it only hires people authorized to work. Under different management in 2006, the plant was raided by immigration authorities. About 300 people suspected of identity theft or being in the country illegally were detained.
I'll just tell y'all something, right? I've been in the United States for going on 8 years now. Going on 9 years, I guess. Here you go, baby.
No, it's for you.
That's for me?
You can put the candy in there.
Okay.
Just in the top one.
Top one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right here. And you put the candy inside. When it comes down, you can get the candy.
Okay. So I've been in the United States for 9 years, right? It took me 5 years to become a United States citizen. I understood that I am in the United States, a land of opportunity, okay? And I realized that the only way is to become a citizen legally, all right? I did my due diligence. I studied, I went through USCIS. It took me 5 years, and I became a United States citizen. Most people would tell you they've been in the United States for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and they have no mindset to realize that, oh, shoot, I could actually change my status. I could get a immigration lawyer, or I could go through USCIS, like uscis.com, and go check how to change my status. How can I make that happen today? Can I start doing that today? How long would that journey take me? What have you been doing for 25 years? 25 years. You see people saying, I've been here for 25 years and they want to deport me. You should actually be deported because you've been here for 25 years and you didn't figure out how to be a United States citizen for 25 years, dog. What is going on with you? 25 years, you ain't figured out how to become a United States citizen. And now you're crying and you think Trump is the problem?
Trump is not the problem.
Exactly, baby. He's not the problem. Even my 5-year-old daughter knows. She knows.
Many of them deported. Elizabeth Oliveros remembers the day clearly.
I was in elementary school, and I remember they had to keep us because they didn't know how many of us, our parents were gone. And a lot of my friends, their parents were gone. They got deported.
9.
The children at Cactus Elementary are mostly oblivious to the political storms brewing outside these school walls. Principal TJ Funderburg is bracing for whatever comes next.
It's just the unknown that scares me to death.
He says as many as half the kids in the school could have undocumented family members. These are the kinds of places where the reality of mass deportations could play out. To the people who are going to be making these decisions about deportations, whether it's mass deportations, just broad or targeted, what's your message to them?
Just, I mean, come talk to me. come meet these kids. think, I know there has to be rules, there has to be checks, there has to be balances, but it can't just be paper. This community of people that have come together, that are here now from all these different countries, all these different places, we can do amazing things.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Just in, from Joe Biden to Donald Trump. Fox News just released the text of the handwritten letter the 46th president of the United States left in the Oval Office for the 47th. Here it is. Dear President Trump, as I take leave of this sacred office, I wish you and your family all the best in the next 4 years. The American people and people around the world look to this House for steadiness in the inevitable storms of history, and my prayer is that the coming years will be a time of prosperity, peace, and grace for our nation. May God bless you and guide you as he has blessed and guided our beloved country since our founding. David?
Well, we knew we were going to get the content of this letter soon because Monday night in the Oval Office, he found the envelope in the desk, held it up, and it was addressed to 47. And he said, I want to read it first, but I'll then maybe share it with you. Listen, this is classic Joe Biden. This is a Joe Biden who was writing this letter not for Donald Trump, but for history, and doing, as he did with the inauguration festivities, a commitment to tradition and the institution. That is what this letter is all throughout. He's not working out grievances here. We all know how he feels about Donald Trump. He hasn't been shy about that. That's not present here. And you'll recall that Biden, when he got his letter from Trump after defeating him 4 years ago, and Trump robbing him of all the smooth transition traditions, he still said that the letter Trump left him was, quote, very generous.
Elena?
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump described the letter as inspirational. Look, I totally agree with you, David. I think this letter is more about, part of Biden's legacy, the last thing that he's leaving the White House with. Not necessarily surprising, but again, I mean, I don't have much more to add than David. I think that it's very clear what Joe Biden feels about Donald Trump, but I wasn't expecting that to be seen in this letter.
And I think it's in the face of people close to Biden who wanted maybe to see him receive Trump more negatively or kind of give back what Trump gave him in 2021. And this is very clearly that Joe Biden was not going to do that. He wanted to leave Washington, at least in some ways, better than what he found it, and leave the traditional classic Joe Biden that I am an institutionalist and that I think about the nation and what is good for the nation more than I think for himself. I think maybe if he did a little bit more of that during the campaign, things would have been different, but certainly it's how he wanted to leave.
Absolutely. It's about the presidency and not the current holder of the presidency. But there is a little bit of a, please listen to me in here. A reminder that the American people and the people around the world look to this House for steadiness in the inevitable storms of history.
Yeah, and my prayer is you get that. So yes, but done in a very classy, dignified, straightforward, not personal way. To David's point, both in public and in private, we know what Joe Biden thinks about Donald Trump. And in public and private, we know what Donald Trump thinks about Joe Biden. This is a way, this is his last act as president. It's also his first act as a former president. I think one of the interesting questions is, we've seen in the first 2 days of the Trump presidency a very active president. We didn't see that for 4 years of Joe Biden. Part of that was his decline. Part of that was his personal style. What will he be like?
Part of it was COVID.
Part of it was COVID. What will he be like as a former president? Tradition is, look at George W. Bush, you bite your tongue when you want to say, even about a president in your own, allegedly in your own party, when it comes to George Bush and Donald Trump. Joe Biden has said he's not going to go away. That he's not going to disappear. I'm somewhat skeptical about how often we will see Joe Biden, but when we do see him, does he get involved in the debates of the day, or does he leave it alone? The letter suggests I'm going to try to be a traditional former president. Time will tell.
But I think many of his fellow Democrats would like him to go away.
But he said
even Democrats want Joe to go away. This is just wild. They want Joe to go away. Too wild.
Several interviews that he's not going away.
We'll see.
Yeah.
You don't buy it?
the party doesn't really want him right now, largely at the center of these conversations.
Right.
And he is, due to his retirement, I mean, I'm sure he'll want to weigh in certain things, but I don't think he really sees himself playing a central role in driving the party forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's going to go paint like George W. Bush or.
Yeah, he ain't painting nothing. All right, time to block this guy right here. He's not painting nothing. I mean, it's time to retire, go to the beach, and sleep. You've done your part. Thank you, Joe. Joe, we did it, according to Kamala Harris. Thank you, Joe. We did it. We finally beat Medicaid. Or Medicare. Okay, on to the next.
Let's talk about the moment you walked back in this office, this desk, this room, your carpet. How'd you feel?
Well, it was a lot of work. And as you know, I felt that we shouldn't have had to necessarily be here. Could have been done, a lot of work. Could have been, it would have been over. We wouldn't have inflation. We wouldn't have had the Afghanistan disaster. We wouldn't have October 7th with Israel, where so many people were killed, and you wouldn't have a Ukraine war going on. But with all that being said, I think it's bigger. It's bigger than if it were more traditional.
Only the second time in history somebody didn't have consecutive terms.
Yeah. Well, they say it's historically bigger. I don't know about that, but I can.
Problem here is, like, the big issue here is the Democrat and far left hate Trump so much they've made him a legend. They've made him an icon. They've made his legacy great. He's become even more legendary than what he used to be. If they didn't indict him, if he's not a convicted felon, if he never got raided in his home, if all of this never happened, he would have been, the former president of the United States, the 45th, and, he became the 47th or whatever, or the 45th, just some easy conversation around Trump. But now they've made him a beacon of hope. They've made him more larger than he ever dreamed he would be. He's basically larger than life at this point. He's the most famous human being in the world, the most powerful man in the world. His story is just mind-blowing. Y'all have made this man what you hate the most. He's never going to go away now. Even when he steps down, even when his term has ended as the 47th. Whoever is going to be the president, the United States would never, as a matter of fact, the world would never forget the name Donald J. Trump. Y'all have just made him what you hate the most. You want him to go away so bad. You wanted him to be gone, and now he's never going away, even when his term has ended. I'm sorry, y'all, it's over. People would talk about this man for years, probably like Lincoln. I'm telling y'all, this guy is never going away.
It showed us a couple of things. It showed us that the radical left, their philosophies and policies are horrible.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Just amazing.
Garrett Tenney is live for us in Chicago. Garrett.
Yeah, Harris, those proposed changes would have allowed Chicago police to work with ICE only in cases involving a violent criminal, which is the kind of people state and local officials claim they don't want to be here. Instead, progressives on the city council have spent the past week preparing to fight this expected ICE operation by canvassing Latino neighborhoods to pass out these flyers, telling folks to not open their doors and to remain silent if ICE agents show up looking for any convicted criminals.
Talking to people, the fear is palpable. The fear is vocalized by our residents. People in the streets are saying that they're scared that ICE agents will show up at their doorsteps, at their workplaces, at their places of worship or places of going to school. They're scared of that. That is a problem.
Governor J.B. Pritzker could push for changes in the state sanctuary policies to allow Illinois police to cooperate in some limited way, but he hasn't given any indication that that is something he is even considering, despite repeatedly saying criminal illegal migrants should be arrested and removed.
If there are violent criminals who have been convicted of violent crimes, who are undocumented, they are supposed to be deported. That is the law of the United States and has been for quite a long time. I don't want them in my state. I don't want them in the country. If you're going to commit crimes and you're undocumented, you don't deserve to stay in this country.
The sad irony here is that by not helping to remove those folks, Democrats here say that the folks they are trying to protect, those law-abiding individuals who are here illegally, by not cooperating with ICE, more of those very individuals are inevitably going to get picked up by ICE while agents are trying to track down those who are the most dangerous. One example, Harris, during an ICE operation in Chicago back in 2018, agents arrested 156 migrants. Of those, only 74 had criminal convictions. The other half were folks who just got caught up and were collateral arrest. Tom Home and others are warning we're almost certainly going to see a lot more of that because of these sanctuary policies. Harris?
And just so I'm clear, I mean, if they came here illegally, they already committed a crime. They broke our laws of sovereignty. So there's 156. Yes, 74 had committed crimes either in their former countries or in this one. But the balance of that was, from what you're saying, and that's what I want to get straight, they were here illegally anyway.
Here illegally, not violent criminals, though. And that's what the administration is focusing on in this initial set of operations.
All right. That's helpful. Garrett, thank you. Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst. Gianno, look, I made a fine point of this because it matters. The last administration was trying to legalize coming across our border in many illegal ways. Whether you crawled in, you went around the security checkpoints, they just wanted, okay, well, if you got here, you're safe. That's not how it works. That's not sovereignty. That's an open door. So picking up these people along with the violent criminals, what would you rather not do? Just not pick up anybody? That's what they wanted.
Exactly right.
Today is different.
Exactly
Trump's in
right.
office.
100%. And Governor J.B. Pritzker is speaking out of both sides of his mouth, saying he doesn't want violent criminals there. But yet, people, as you mentioned, they broke the law and they came over here. It's the exact same thing. You committed a crime by entering the United States of America, and it has cost us in blood and treasure. Blood by the 100,000 plus people who've overdosed on a drug. And we've seen that in recent years since Biden has taken office, and treasure with the billions of dollars of resources that are being usurped from the people of Illinois and the people of the city of Chicago, New York, and all across the country. It must come to an end. And thank God this day has come with Donald Trump in office to get the country back on its feet.
Well, look, you knew that there'd be pushback. There has been from day one with that immediate lawsuit slew against DOJ, the Department of Government Efficiency. Now there's more legal action. Democratic attorneys general are suing across the country. They're suing President Trump over his birthright citizenship executive order. Here's a map showing the lawsuit spread across 22 states. Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley says he believes this issue could make it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Watch.
The real value of the executive order is not that it has binding legal effect on anything other than federal agencies, but that it could trigger a long-awaited court fight to bring clarity to this issue. It could ultimately go in front of the Supreme Court.
Your reaction?
Well, I think he has a point there, and I would never challenge the professor. I think he's excellent in his legal commentary. So, yeah, there would be a court fight in the Supreme Court. But the facts of the matter are we should be focusing on Americans first, people who've built a life here, not people who decided they were pregnant and they came across just so they can have a child within the United States and get those particular protections. That's usurping, again, resources from Americans. And it's an issue we've been dealing with for decades. That's why it is imperative that Congress comes up with an immigration plan that's going to take care of all of these issues, because we've been talking about it for decades. Things need to come to a change because we have to protect Americans first.
Well, look, you and I were at events in Washington for the inauguration, one in particular where Tim Scott and
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Janice. Says double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. This is just, I would say it's easy because it's illegal immigration he's been talking about. Illegal immigration is not even saying anything else. It's saying illegal immigration. But people keep saying this guy's a bad person, this and that. I don't get it.
Byron Donalds from Florida, Congressman, and Senator Tim Scott. There is this focus on being able to do those big bipartisan things. Just real quickly, what was your take on lawmakers you talked with?
Well, people are excited. There's a lot of enthusiasm and energy around the new administration. And I got to be honest with you, Harris, that isn't just Republicans and conservatives and people who voted for Trump. I've heard from people who voted for Kamala Harris, who voted for Joe Biden in the previous election, people who would never give Donald Trump the time of day. They're enthusiastic. They're excited. People feel it everywhere because they know we've been in a terrible state of affairs for the last 4 years. Our economic activity, inflation, the border, crime. These are issues that impact every American. And they're now thinking, wait, we got a guy who's now in office who means business. And that's why people are excited and they're looking forward to 4 years of Donald Trump. And folks who didn't vote for him, many are looking to give him a chance.
Legendary. This is why I voted for the OG, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. He's not saying if you are in this country and you came in here legally, you're good to go. But if you're coming in here illegally, then I don't know what you're doing. Your first act into the United States should not be illegal crossing, okay? You cannot be crossing the border illegally, all right? I'm sorry, okay? I know it's hard. Probably where you're from is hard. I get it, okay? I get it. Trust me, I know. However, you should come into the United States, respect the law of the land, and, come in here legally. It is what it is, okay? Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Respect the law of the land. It's easy, yo.
We are just hours away from the end of all DEI programs in those dedicated departments in the federal government. The Office of Personnel Management is set at 5 p.m. Eastern to meet the deadline for all government agencies to close those offices, and the employees, for at least the time being, will be on paid administrative leave. That follows President Trump's executive orders to bring an end to DEI and to make America merit-based. So he's going to do that at the federal level and restore the importance of our individual efforts within the workforce. During his inaugural address, President Trump made very clear his intentions to create a colorblind society.
I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Yesterday, the president signed an executive order ending Biden's, quote, forced, illegal, and immoral discrimination, end quote, in the federal workforce and directing the government to serve every person with equal dignity and respect. However, liberal leaders are up in arms about the idea of merit-based society. Here's the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Why do we have DEI?
There we go.
We had DEI because you denied us diversity. You denied us equity. You denied us inclusion. DEI was a remedy to the racial institutional bigotry.
Man, please. Man, please. All that victimization mindset is over. All that victimization mindset, oh, woe unto me. Woe is me. I'm being treated badly. Nope. The 44th president of the United States was Barack Obama. Okay? Obama was the 44th president of the United States. So what do you mean by DEI? You already had a man that looked like me, become the commander-in-chief, the executive power, a man that looked like me wield the most important office in the land. You're talking about DEI. It's over, okay? It isn't 1960s or 1940s anymore. This is 2025. You could argue and say, you know, there's still systematic whatever. You could say all that. Okay. However, you could never deny the fact that the 44th president was a man that looked like me. So where was DEI then? You didn't even have DEI at that point. DEI started during this guy, former president, the 46th, Joe Biden. So what did Obama do for 8 years for the people that looked like him? He's from Chicago, isn't it? What happened to Chicago? But everybody wants to blame Trump. Did you know for the past 16 years, Democrats have held the executive power in the United States? 12 years out of those 16 years. For the past 12 years, listen carefully, everybody. For the past 12 years, Democrats have held the executive power for 12 years. So what are you talking about? Obama held it for 8 years. Trump had it for 4 years. Then Biden had it for 4 years. So for the past 16 years, Democrats have had it for 12 years, and Republicans have only had it for 4. So 16 years, Democrat has it for 12 years, Trump has it for 4 years, and everything going wrong in the United States is because of Trump. Because of Trump. Oh, Trump is the guy. He's a racist. He's a that. He's a this. The reason why I'm not getting ahead in life is because of Trump. So what are we doing? How long are you going to cry, woe is me? How long are you going to be a victim for? Are you going to sit there and be a victim and not fight for your kids, for your family, for the people that believe in you, for your loved ones? Are you going to just sit there and say, we were denied equity, we were denied diversity, we were denied inclusion? Are you going to sit there and say that for the rest of your life? And your ancestors are just rolling in their graves and saying, oh, Lord, these guys have it perfect. Do you know what the people that lived during those ages would say if they saw Obama being the president of the United States? They would never believe a man like Obama would ever be a commander-in-chief. And it happened. It happened, y'all. Are you going to move on and take the opportunity right in front of you and realize you are living in the greatest country on earth? Take the opportunity. It's going to be hard, of course. You think it's just going to be easy? It's going to be hard. But don't sit there crying, woe is me, and saying I'm a victim. Oh, everything is against me because this is what I look like. So what? So what?
In academia and in these corporations. Now you want to put us back in the back of the bus. We're going to do the Dr. King Rosa Parks on you.
And The View co-host Sunny Hostin launched her own attack.
And thinking about that, and
I'm going to tell y'all something. People are saying, this guy is not even American born. I was not born in the United States. Same as Elon Musk. Elon Musk was not born in the United States. He was born in Pretoria, South Africa. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. So what? I'm an American. So is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is an American. So you could cry in your home with no profile picture on YouTube because you're not confident of yourself. I am an American. I am here in front of you on your phone. You're wasting your time. You're watching and you're here saying, this guy isn't even American. What are you doing? Does that even make sense to you? He's not American. I am an American, yo. I am. You could cry.
Trump saying things that this country would be a meritocracy. You're talking about a man who didn't become the president of the United States because of merit. He hasn't had he had no political experience whatsoever. He had no business experience. He was given everything that he has. He is a legacy hire. He is, if anything, a DEI hire, a didn't earn it hire.
Okay, here we go.
I'm just, my head is spinning. Ben, where is your Sunny Hostin and Reverend Sharpton decoder ring?
Yeah, look, I think you look at Al Sharpton, this is like, all right, I'm going to get my network back going. I'm going to raise some money. This is a great moment for me. I go back to Martin Luther King because he quotes Martin Luther King like he's on Martin Luther King's side. He's the exact opposite. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that for my 4 children, 4 little children, we will one day live in a nation where we will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by their character. That is exactly what the president is now saying. We don't need a melting pot that you organize in some liberal woke agenda where you say, how many transgenders do we need? How many gays? How many straights? How many African Americans? How many Asian Americans? He's saying we're going back to merit base. We want to look at Americans not based on do you fill a quota for this country or for our business, but instead we choose you because you're the best person to do the job regardless of the color of your skin. Al Sharpton needs to go back and watch that speech.
Yeah. So the way I look at this too, Cheryl, is everything that Ben just said, and I would add this. It also requires that you do your job.
Yes.
And part of your character be work ethic. All of the things together. And when you don't, they get rid of you.
Yeah.
And DEI promises that what? You get to keep the job forever?
Read the EO. It's right here, folks. This is the EO. Here you go. Reward individual initiative, skills, performance, and hard work.
Merit-based.
Why is that controversial? Did Al Sharpton not read the executive order?
No, he
I'm
didn't.
sure he didn't.
No,
It's
no,
not
he
about
didn't.
fundraising. But let me tell
He
you
got
something.
paid. The guy got paid by Kamala Harris to do an interview with Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Eminem, Fat Joe, Kelly Rowland, Megan Thee Stallion, Usher, all of these guys, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, who happens to be one of my greatest inspiration. Tyler Perry is an inspiration regardless. However, it's like with all of these big names, these guys could not help Kamala Harris win. Because the American people are just tired. It's about competence now. It's about performance. It's not about, oh, because I'm a woman, I should be treated better. Man, you better move along.
We saw this in corporate America. We've talked about this already, guys. We saw Amazon and Walmart and Meta, John Deere, Harley, excuse me, that's their ticker. They all started to get rid of DI initiatives a year ago because it didn't make sense. If you look at a report from 2022 when the Biden administration actually put down these policies, and this was about, let me give you the direct quote. This is about making sure that there was, gender equality, gender markers, pronouns, transgender, nonconforming, non-binary, all of that. Another report in 2024 back and looked at if it was successful, and it wasn't. There were minor changes in federal employee and employment stats. It was a waste of money and a waste of time, guys.
Kelly, you know what really stands out to me as the former child of a military family. I don't know if this yet touches the federal government and the U.S. military part of it, because DEI is something, and a woke agenda is something that you heard Pete Hegseth and a lot of people talking about during his confirmation hearings, and how that has held back in some cases our ability to really be ready militarily.
It's such an important point. And in fact, what we saw is DEI, the DOD, Department of Defense, spent $68 million on it, and that number went up to $114 million by the end of Biden's presidency. Department of Education spent $1 billion with a B. But what is so insidious to me in that executive order you have there, it begins by talking about Executive Order 13985. That was one of the first acts of Biden as president. It was a DEI executive order. We were all sitting here on this couch for 2 years talking about critical race theory. And then it was actually Governor DeSantis' office that said there's this new term, it's DEI. We weren't even talking about it, right? Yeah. But it goes back to day one of Biden's presidency. He had everyone submit equity plans, every department. So you think they're focusing on China and Russia at the Pentagon? No, they're focusing on equity. This was this man's priority, and no wonder we're all messed up as a country right now.
So what Trump is doing is replacing the word equity with equality, which is where, I mean, equality,
what a great idea.
You get the opportunity, you have to earn keeping it.
So what is one of the big problems in our country right now? Our institutions, including the federal government, don't have the respect of people. This will help reinstall the respect of people and respect for people who hold those positions, those government jobs, who are racial minorities, right? As soon as you know the rules have changed and people are getting hired because they deserve the job, guess what? I think the respect for those institutions will rise.
Yes, because now it's not just based on, because I am brown skinned, so I should get the opportunity because, my forefathers, they built this country. But I'm not competent though, but I know I deserve it. Yeah, I ain't competent, but I deserve it. It's not about what you deserve, okay? It's about what you can earn. Okay, you go out there, you earn it. And this is why I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry to say this. I know y'all gonna get in your feelings, but legal immigrants that come from other countries, there are 54 countries in Africa, right? That comes from any of those countries, Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, South Africa, Kenya, wherever in Africa, or from Asia, China, wherever. When they come to the United States, they do better. Why do they do better? Because they have no sense of entitlement. They don't think anything, they don't think they deserve anything. They just go out there, they work their ass off. They work their boat off because they don't think I am entitled to nothing. I don't think I'm entitled to anything. I'm grateful to the United States. To be even here is a blessing. So every day I get up, I pray to God, I do my exercise, kiss my baby girl, and I say, today is another day to be a blessing because I am in the greatest land in the world. That's why you see construction workers, all migrant people working so hard. I have an online business, and when I'm shipping out, the owner of this store, the UPS store, is a legal migrant. He owns the UPS store. And when I'm telling him my story, he's telling me his story. And we're like pals. He's texting me when they're going to bring the boxes. Like, we're chatting. And it's like inspirational to see two legal immigrants doing good things. I'm not where I want to be, but I know because I am in the land of opportunity, I'm going to keep working, keep believing to get where I want to get. I don't think I deserve anything. I don't care what anybody says. I do not deserve anything, okay? I'm going to work every day and get the opportunity and earn the opportunity. That's it. Okay, what y'all talking about? You better work your ass off.
Breaking news this hour. A U.S. official telling Fox News that the Pentagon will be sending 1,500 U.S. active duty troops to the southern border by the end of the month. Now, this will accompany the 2,500 troops already at the border. They were put there in March of 2024 by none other than the Biden administration. So this is adding to what is there. I'm sure this will be spun by the media as some sort of novel and extra constitutional act by current President Trump. But indeed, he is simply adding, Ben, to the troops that are already there from the Biden administration. And this comes with the context of that executive order with NORTHCOM, reorienting them to secure the southern border.
It's different. Look, I live in Texas, and I can tell you Border Patrol agents that I know well said for the last 4 years they have been directed by the Biden administration to not do their job. They said, imagine going to work every day and you're told you cannot do the job that you swore an oath to do. They are thrilled because they now said, not only do we actually get to go back and do the job we're supposed to do instead of babysitting and allow for illegal activity to flourish, but we're going to get the resources we need to get it back in order because it's so out of control and there's no order. One of them said to me the other day, they said, you can't imagine just how bad it is at the southern border. And because what they've done deliberately in the last administration was make it total chaos on purpose so that there's no way to even have order. They said we need more people down there. They're going to need troops, National Guard, and a lot of help just to get it back to where it was when Trump left office. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I think you're going to see also governors jump all in to help with resources as well.
You know, Cheryl, one of the interesting things I find about a lot of these EOs as I read through them, I know you mentioned you were reading through one. I know Stephen Miller is behind a lot of these. Stephen Miller, people may not know, but for the last 4 years has run a legal advocacy organization. He understands the law. And when you look at this, they specifically cite in the EO that was signed a national emergency at the border that unleashes all sorts of powers. Designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, FTOs, unleashes all sorts of powers. And ironically, citing the Title 10 authorities used by Biden as they make this move. It is so well thought out.
It is, and those legal protections are in place. They also are put in legal protections as far as the sanctuary city goes. That's where we're seeing the fight back now is coming from the sanctuary cities, whether it's New York or it's Denver or, even like Boston, we're going to see some things. But I think at the end of the day, what I found so interesting about the way that this was all phrased is actually it enables, to your point, the military to come in. That has to go through the Pentagon, but that's in place. That's why you need the defense secretary nomination to be confirmed sooner rather than later, because that all has to get processed through the Defense Department. I realize there's an acting defense secretary right now, but we need clarity with that. Back to what's happening here in New York, how soon did you see crying immigrants when the CBP One app was shut down? How fast did that video get out there? Well, more of that's coming from places. That is coming from the other side.
Yeah.
They're also
it's a campaign.
Building their legal challenges and campaigning to make sure that this becomes the emotional look at what Trump is doing.
This is the AOC
He and Holman
Kids
are
in
going
Cages
after,
moment
And
where
Harris,
it's crying.
We did see 22 states are now suing over the birthright citizenship.
Yeah, just to finish up on what you're just saying. Yeah, some of it is political, but some of it is also they were sold a bill of goods on the other side of the border because there's a magnet up here that says if you can come across that border any old kind of way, even if you have to be, and forgive it, but it's true, put yourself in danger to be raped by the drug cartels, you go for it and you get on that. And then there's this promise, this magnet, that this current administration, meaning Biden's at the time, won't do anything but help you. They'll give you debit cards in New York. They'll do everything that you might even get to vote it if you came here as a non-citizen illegally. I mean, the world is your oyster, and now they realize it isn't. So it doesn't take much to get them to the point where they're emotional. That dream is closing. They're going to have to do it the right way.
Yeah. You know, Tom Homan cited that they might go after local jurisdictions who refuse to comply with immigration law. But he's not just out there like saying things, they're actually doing them immediately as they take office. This is acting Deputy AG Emile Beauvais. He sent this directive out. Federal law prohibits state and local actors from resisting, obstructing, failing to comply with lawful immigration commands. The U.S. Attorney's Office and litigating components of DOJ shall investigate incidents involving misconduct. This is a Fox News exclusive out this morning. More action being taken.
More action being taken, and good night, sanctuary cities, right? Like, this is over, guys. And the thing that Homan said on our air, I believe, recently is we are going after public safety threats. How many people can say that's the wrong thing to do? Why would this be controversial? I have no idea, but at the end of the day, this is exactly what needs to be done. And maybe because I'm speaking as somebody who walks through the streets of New York every single day, and we see what's going on in the streets and how people, well, they're being challenged on the streets by people who are not in this country legally.
Yeah, and the American public has changed. So the crying pictures, I'm not sure they'll have the same effect 4 years later after the media tried it once.
Exactly. They already tried it before, and now people understand, man, this ain't going to work. It's not going to work. It is not going to work. This is why what they're doing now, that is why Trump won. Okay? Basically, that's why Trump won. All right, J6ers.
Nobody should be shocked by this. Outrage maybe, but not shocked, because Donald Trump, remember, he would play the January 6th anthem at all his rallies. He still calls them hostages. Incredibly offensive, given that we have hostages in Gaza right now. He promised over and over. So I would say to you, look, what J.D. Vance says has zero validity. 4 days ago, Pam Bondi in her confirmation hearing said that these cases would be looked at case by case. What Pam Bondi says has zero validity. There is one person who matters, and I think that the things he promised on that campaign should be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
And if you voted for him thinking, oh, don't take him seriously.
Exactly. Isn't this what you want? The American people voted for this man, and she just said, ladies and gentlemen, everything he said on the campaign grounds, he is going to do it. Isn't that what you want from your leader? Everything he said on the campaign trail is what he's doing. She just told the American people that trust Donald Trump. He's going to deliver exactly what he promised. Listen.
Zero validity. There is one person who matters, and I think that the things he promised on that campaign should be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
And if you
She just said it, that the things he promised during the campaign should be taken seriously. And that is exactly why he won. The people that voted for him, the 77 million people, including myself, we voted for him for those things he promised during the campaign. So if he gets it done, that's what we want. We're praying he gets it done. This is music to our ears.
voted for him thinking, oh, don't take him seriously, he's just joking, well, you screwed around and you're finding
Well,
out.
by Trump's definition of this and by his token, I would always also expect to see, the hundreds of people who were convicted of the George Floyd protests of assaulting police officers to walk free, right, Scott?
Well, they were prosecuted.
How many were prosecuted ultimately?
Hundreds.
Because there were lots of people that had all their charges dropped.
I have the answer for you, and it's hundreds of them.
Yeah, I saw an analysis. I saw an analysis of that somewhere, and most people who were charged had their charges dropped.
But what charges were they?
All kinds of
failure
charges.
to if they were failure to disperse, those types of charges. The ones who were charged with violent crimes, those charges were not dismissed. They were prosecuted.
Well, they went into all kinds of diversionary programs. I'm one of the few lawyers in this country that represented people in those riots and on January 6th, one of the very few. And the way that the prosecution was handled between those two groups are starkly different.
Don't you think that
Starkly
there is a
different. That's just a fact.
substantive difference between what happened on January 6th, what they were trying to do, and why the federal government has a desire and, in fact, a necessity to prevent that from ever happening again? Don't you think there's a substantive difference between those two things?
No.
One of them was trying to overturn an election.
And the other was what? Burning down the
There's a
city?
difference between trying to overturn an election and
I don't.
violent social justice protests?
Call it social justice. Okay.
I mean,
This is why Trump. You can never make this up. This is why Trump won. So she's saying that it's okay to burn down the courthouses, the police station. She's saying violent social protest. That's what they were doing, burning down police station, burning down courthouses, turning down, breaking, spray painting, burning statues, burning cars, looting stores that people worked hard to build their businesses to feed their families. She's saying maybe that's okay compared to J6 is different. Okay, that was trying to overturn an election, but this it's just a violent social protest. It's the same thing.
So
I'll give it to you, Scott. Let's say that they're violent. You don't think there's a difference between trying to obstruct the peaceful transfer of power
here's what I think.
and violent riots in the street of any kind? The ones in 1968, the ones
What were
in
the
20
objective of those
in
riots?
2020.
I think both groups of people were mad about something going on. They wanted to change it. They took matters into their own hands that they should not have done. In both cases, you had people engaging in activities that they should not have engaged in. Now, our culture and our public discourse decided one group of people, social justice is good, and these people were bad. But the reality is they had the same motivation.
Here's the
I'm
thing.
mad.
They actually
all did the same thing.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
They did not.
They have the same
Hold on.
motivation.
They did
Sure
not.
they
have the
did.
same
They wanted to
motivation,
change
Scott.
something they didn't like.
First
Right?
of all, I don't even want to get in this debate because
Get
it's
into
done.
it.
People voted, and as Anna said, FAFO. Okay, go Google it if you don't know what that means, because I can't say it on national television. But this is the era that we are in.
Farana, find out.
And there were people in protests. They were not riots. They were protests, and there were people who showed up at the protests
and did bad behavior. But that was because a man was murdered unjustly.
That doesn't give you the right to break into the Nike store.
How about this?
That doesn't give you the right to break into Tiffany's.
How about this? How about you let me finish?
Yeah, exactly. This is the theme. This is why Trump won the election. This is just why Trump. I'm telling you, this right here is why Trump won the election, because they're gonna say, it's different. It's different. In Minneapolis, they were burning down police station. It's different. Okay, it's different. It ain't different.
How about this?
That doesn't give you the right to break into Tiffany's.
How about this? How about you let me finish? How about you
blowing
let
up
me
a police
finish?
precinct?
How about you let me
second,
finish?
Arthur.
Thank
Let me
you.
let her
That's what we
finish,
do at this table. A man was killed, and that's why they protested. Now, I don't sit on this network and try on both sides something. If you were violent in those protests, repercussions should be had. But that is not what happened on January 6th. What happened on January 6th is people went and stormed the Capitol because a man pouted and lost an election and couldn't stand up. Nobody died because of that election. People died because of Donald Trump's actions, and because, I don't know if the people you defend, but the officers died on that day.
No. One guy had a heart attack 5 days later.
Okay.
No officers died.
Hold on. Officer Brian Sicknick, he had multiple strokes. He died by suicide. Officer Jeffrey Smith, Metropolitan Police,
You know how many cops die by suicide all the time?
I'm going to say their names, whether you like it or not.
You can
he
say
died by
everybody's
traumatic brain injury, and he died by suicide. Officer Howard Livingood, Capitol Police, died by suicide. Gunther Hashida, Metropolitan Police, died by suicide. Kyle DeFreytag, Metropolitan Police, died by suicide. So I am not going to, if you're going to be campaigning about being for the blue, being about law and order, you know what I really appreciated today? The very few Republicans on the Senate who stood up, people like Tom Tillis, people like Langford.
Can I play the sound? Because we have it. Let's play that sound.
Because they are being consistent to who they were on January 6th and January 7th.
That's right. Let's play the sound.
To me, I just can't agree. It was surprising to me that it was a blanket pardon.
100% of them pardoned every one of them. They've been there long enough. Most of them hadn't even been charged with anything.
I do not support the pardons if they were given to people who committed violent crimes, including assaulting police officers.
He told us he would pardon the Jan 6 protesters. That was well known when he campaigned for the job. He won the popular vote. He won a mandate, and fully support him in doing that.
So there were some, like, to your point. And do we have that Wall Street Journal op-ed? The Wall Street Journal just put out an op-ed tonight basically saying this, that Republicans, Trump pardons the January 6th cop beaters. Republicans busy denouncing President Biden's preemptive pardons for his family and other political allies, and deservedly so. But then it's shameful if you don't hear many, if any, ruing President Trump's proclamation to pardon unconditionally nearly all of the people who rioted at the Capitol on January 6th. I mean, there are people here on the right who think this is outrageous. And so I don't think it's I don't know, maybe some people think that you can't be pro-Trump and
is, Abby, what are they going to do about it? And
this,
what can
but it seems like you can. Tom Tillis supports Trump. He opposes it.
It's not right-left.
It is right. I mean,
no, it's not right-left. He's right. He's right. It's not right-left.
It's supposed to be right-left.
It's right-wrong.
For the presidential power, it's what's best for our community and our society as a whole. You're right. All of those officers that died and lost their lives and committed suicide, they should be honored. They lost their lives. But it doesn't matter why you attack a federal building. You can attack a federal building because you're mad because somebody got killed, or you can attack a federal building because you're mad because somebody didn't win an election. It doesn't justify it. It doesn't justify disparaging treatment between.
I take your point.
Can I say something? I would argue that letting 1,500 people loose, who are now emboldened and feel that they are untouchable.
Yeah, this right here is just, I have nothing to say, because it's like you're just dribbling backwards with this, folks. Dribbling backwards.
President Trump is offering a full-throated defense of one of his first moves as president, pardoning the convicted January 6 rioters, including those who attacked cops that day.
I am the friend of police more than any president that's ever been in this office.
More than 400 of the people that you pardoned, though, assaulted officers. So I want to ask you about the Vice President, J.D. Vance. He said, this is a week ago, he said, if you committed violence on January 6th, obviously you should not be pardoned. Why is your Vice President wrong?
Well, only for one reason. They've served years in jail. They should not have served, and they've served years in jail, and murderers don't even go to jail in this country.
You know what I don't like about partiality? People are just so partial. It's like Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. Nobody goes crazy and says, well, nobody says anything. All right? Everybody just says, you know what? We knew he was going to pardon his son. I mean, Trump was going to get his son anyway, so he should pardon his son. And now, Trump pardons the J6ers. Oh! Yeah, y'all have something to say? Biden pardoned his entire family. Y'all have something to say? Nothing to say? Well, when Trump does it, it is, oh, Trump. Oh, Trump. Yeah, I support Trump.
Not clear what he's referencing there, but I should note that that day, of course, one of the most searing images, the most brutal assaults, was against Officer Daniel Hodges. You can't forget the disturbing way he was attacked. And as he was being attacked, one rider ripped off Officer Hodges' gas mask. Another hit him in the head with his own baton. One tried to gouge one of his eyes out. And it was Patrick McCaughey that you can see here who pinned him in that Capitol doorway and assaulted him with a police shield. A judge sentenced him to 7.5 years in prison for his role in that attack. But tonight, he is free. His mom tells the Connecticut Insider he's on his way home. And Officer Daniel Hodges joins me now, which I should note is happening in your personal capacity. When you saw that Trump pardoned all of these people, virtually everyone who was charged and convicted, even those who still have their cases ongoing, even those who pleaded guilty, just what went through your mind?
I mean, it wasn't a surprise. This is what Trump campaigned on. The die was cast for this on November 5th, right? So this is what the people voted for. And even though it wasn't a surprise, it still hurt to see because these people were violent insurrectionists. They brutally attacked me and my colleagues. They wanted to stop the peaceful transfer of power. I don't see why so many of them would deserve a pardon.
And you actually worked Trump's inauguration yesterday.
Correct.
I mean, you're still out there fulfilling your duties as law enforcement and protecting him and protecting the people who are there supporting him. What is that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about democracy, right? You can't just believe in it when your guy wins. You got to believe in it when the other guy wins, too. And part of that, especially in my job, is being respectful and doing the best job you can, providing law enforcement services to the best of your ability, even to people who, hate me, even though none of them recognize me. But if I had told them, I'm confident they would have had a different reaction to me.
Patrick McCaughey, the one who was released from prison, who attacked you specifically, was one of those in that mob during that searing image. He's free now. I went back and looked at what the judge said to him when he was sentenced him, and he said that his actions on January 6th were some of the most egregious crimes that were committed that day, that he left you completely defenseless, and he had to retreat, but you didn't retreat. You were there when he was sentenced. Has he ever apologized to you personally?
He was one of those in court who apologized during his sentencing. Whether he's sincere or not, who knows? I guess we'll find out now, right?
And he never reached out to you outside of court or once he was in prison?
No.
The Fraternal Order of Police put out a statement just a few moments ago saying that they've had longstanding positive relations with President Trump, but they said crimes against law enforcement are not just attacks on individual or public safety. They're attacks on society, and they undermine the rule of law. And they said when perpetrators of crimes, especially serious ones, are not held fully accountable, It sends a dangerous message that the consequences for attacking law enforcement are not severe, potentially emboldening others to commit similar acts of violence. Are you worried that Trump's pardon of people like Patrick encourages them to do this again?
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't it, right? If people know that there are not going to be any consequences for their actions, particularly their crimes, and they would like to further a certain agenda with extreme violence, then all they have to know is that they've got a wink and a nod from a man in office who doesn't have any integrity, and they're good to go, right?
Trump says he's the friend of the police. Do you think that's true?
Trump says a lot of things. Sometimes lies are more reliable than truth. And I have not had any experience that would suggest he is a friend of the police. I think what he's a friend of is anyone who elevates his position and secures his authority, which law enforcement is obligated to do here, but some people do it with enthusiasm based on ideology rather than duty. And that is what he's a fan of.
And we're seeing the reaction from these people who are being released, some of them who are just thrilled. The QAnon shaman that we saw that day who became notorious, he was sentenced to more than three years. He was granted early release, and he touted the pardon that he got from Trump, and he said, in quote, all caps, "Now I am gonna buy some mother effing guns. I love this country." How does that feel for you?
It's, I hope that there are those who were sentenced and convicted and did time who had a period of self-reflection and perhaps some personal growth. This man is obviously not one of them. He doesn't appear to regret anything he's done or anything he's stood for, and just have to hope that he refrains from violence in the future.
Does it make you worried for your safety?
I'm a DC cop. I get threats before January 6th, and I'm going to get threats after. It's not going to change. But yeah, a little bit. I mean, these people say they want revenge, right? So if they want to come after me, then that's their choice. I'll be ready.
You testified with several other officers in front of the January 6th Congressional Committee. I don't know if you knew about this before, but President Biden, before he left office yesterday, issued a pardon for everyone on that committee, their teams who worked on that, and the officers who testified before the committee. How do you feel about getting that pardon from him?
It's a lot of mixed emotions. Obviously, I'm grateful that President Biden thought of me in his final moments, and my colleagues continued legal safety. It's a novel sensation to receive a pardon when you haven't committed any crimes. And at the same time, I'm disinclined to accept it because I haven't committed any crimes. I haven't done anything wrong. And to accept, I know legally it's debatable, but in my mind, accepting a pardon is an admission of guilt. And if this incoming administration wants to come after me and dedicate their political capital, their money, their time to trying to lock me up on some trumped-up charge, then that's those resources that they can't spend going after someone more vulnerable.
Wow. So you would be not okay, but you would be able to be okay with if they were coming after you.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation, but I didn't do this to be safe. I didn't take the job to be safe. This is a kind of danger that I wasn't planning on when I signed up for the job, but I try to do what's best for everybody as best I can.
Officer Hodges, thank you for your work.
You know what? I obviously don't condone any violence, especially against any law enforcement officers. That is just not right. And I think he conducted himself with bravery, especially the way he spoke. Hopefully he doesn't encounter danger, and I hope he's safe. But everybody should come together now, okay, and say, you know what? Maybe it's time to move on. and support the duly elected 47th president of the United States. And let's keep it going. Or are we going to do this for the next 4 years like they did during his first term when he was the 45th? Russia, Russia, Russia. He was impeached twice. Even during the campaign towards the 47th, he had 2 assassination attempts on his life. He was indicted. Now he's a convicted felon, literally sentenced to the White House. See what I mean? Like, is this what the media is going to keep talking about? J6 happened what? How many years ago? 5 years ago? Now it's still on the news like it just happened 2 seconds ago. But, of course, this is what the news media does.
In our politics lead, President Trump has taken one of his first steps in seeking revenge against those he considers political opponents. Today, President Trump terminated the Secret Service detail for his own former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, who is facing death threats from Iran. And in fact, there was an arrest of someone plotting against him a couple years ago. Last night, Trump also signed an executive order revoking Ambassador Bolton's security clearance, along with the clearances of 51 other former intelligence officials, including former CIA directors, secretaries of defense, directors of national intelligence, and so on. All of them signed a 2020 letter saying that emails from a laptop belonging to Hunter Biden carried, quote, all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation, unquote, even though that laptop did ultimately prove legitimate. Joining us now is former National Security Advisor during Trump's first term, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. Mr. Ambassador, what's your reaction to Trump revoking your security detail, ending your Secret Service detail?
Well, I've had better days, that's for sure. This is, I think, typical of Trump the man. This is the kind of character or lack thereof who's now president. You know, when President Biden, recognizing the threat against me and several other current and former U.S. government officials, authorized the Secret Service to restore protection, which I had when I was National Security Advisor, I'm sure he probably wasn't the happiest man in the world because of the criticisms that I've made of him on his foreign policy. But he did it because it's simply not permissible to allow a rogue state like the terrorists in Iran to threaten Americans, whether they're in government or not, simply for expressing opinions or, in the case of the government employees, doing their job. Trump has decided to reverse it. It's obviously within his power to do it. But I think this is a matter that people should take seriously and let them contemplate who made the right decision here, President Biden or President Trump.
Well, let me ask you what ultimately you think it means, because your life is at risk. There has actually been an arrest made of an Iranian national who was who was part of a plot against you. Is he ultimately saying, I hope you die? I mean, how do you interpret?
Of course. Here we go. Here we go. They're going to say what they're not supposed to talk about. But this is what we get, okay? Trump pulling Bolton's Secret Service protection. What do I think about it? First of all, the American people are the number one priority. Is Bolton an American person? Absolutely. Okay. Does he deserve Secret Service protection? I don't have the security clearance to talk about that. However, it's like maybe he can afford personal security guards. He could pay for it. I mean, I guess he's well enough to pay for, bodyguard or some protection, security details around him. Because during the 47th presidential election, Trump had 2 assassination attempts. Most people say 3 assassination attempts. This man didn't have enough protection details. He had to write to the government, to Joe Biden, after he almost got offed from this world. That's when Biden said, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to double up your security details. So, Bolton not having Secret Service protection. A lot of Americans do not have protection. Matter of fact, 99% of us just walk around, get our families to safety, protect ourselves. So the federal government, not everybody deserves Secret Service details. I'm sorry, okay? I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying if everybody's going to get protected, what are you protecting yourself from? From the American people or what? You know, and I know he just spoke about Iranian whatever trying to, you know, take his life. However, it's like maybe he can afford personal security details, okay? And they should, I mean, if he's having that kind of threat, I guess he should be protected because obviously you don't want him to lose his life. But it's on, y'all. Like, Trump is cutting off a lot of, you know, government officials and is trying to save money. That's something that I know for a fact. He's trying to cut down budget, trying to save money, trying to put back money into the economy. And this is what he campaigned on. It's going to be brutal for the next 4 years for federal employees, for sure. But the people of the United States that voted for him, the 77 million people, and everybody else, okay, the whole of American people would do great things. This is just what I believe.
Yes.
Well, I think it's certainly a downer for expressing your opposition to Donald Trump, as I say. Now, I'm not going to make sure measures are in place to provide protection, but I think the signal is clear. I don't know what's happening to the others who also have protection. I'm the only one, I think, at the moment who had Secret Service protection because I worked in the White House. Others worked at the State Department, the Defense Department, elsewhere, have protection from those departments. But it's this should not be a partisan matter. It should not be a matter of differing opinions on policy or personalities. This, to me, is an act of war against the United States by the government of Iran in threatening current and former American officials for doing their jobs.
What about when they threatened the former president, the 45th Donald Trump? When he was threatened and had 2 assassination attempts on his life, and it was said that the Iranian whatever had to, they were plotting to kill Donald Trump. There was a report on that there was an assassination attempt by Iranians on Trump. These folks did not cry Hail Mary then. Now they're crying Hail Mary.
When it comes to your security clearance, Trump's executive order said this about your book, The Room Where It Happened. It says, quote, the memoir's reckless treatment of sensitive information undermined the ability of future presidents to request and obtain candid advice on matters of national security from their staff. Publication also created a grave risk that classified material was publicly exposed, unquote. What's your response to that?
Well, to remind everybody that the book went through a 4-month-long pre-publication review to make sure there was no classified information in the book. That's been explained in court documents and I think fully justifies the decision to go ahead and publish. And I've not heard a single statement in the nearly 5 years now since the book was published of any classified information in the book. Donald Trump didn't like the book because it was critical of him and it came out in June of 2020. That is an assault on free speech, pure and simple. As to the security clearance, I frankly don't think I have a security clearance anymore, so it will make no practical difference whatever.
I do want to ask you about something that Donald Trump just said. He was asked about his sweeping pardons of the January 6 criminals. He's pardoned 1,500 people, including those who violently attacked police. Now, specifically, he was asked about how he commuted the sentences of the Proud Boys who were convicted or charged with seditious conspiracy. Here's what President Trump said just moments ago. Take a listen.
Given a pardon, I thought their sentences were ridiculous and excessive. One of the guys took down a flag that was an anti-American flag, and he was given years in jail. I don't know the exact number, but he was given many years in jail. I thought it was very excessive. And at least the cases that we looked at, these were people that actually love our country, so we thought a pardon would be appropriate, yeah.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, I wouldn't have pardoned any of them. It's just ridiculous to say that these people didn't realize that they shouldn't have been in the Capitol. January the 6th. That they had no purpose there. They had no excuse to be there, and maybe some of them just walk through and wonder at never having been in the Capitol before. But they should have known better. They're adults. The ones who actually committed the violence, frankly, I'd put them in jail for as long as the sentencing guidelines permit, and I absolutely would not have pardoned them. This is a signal that if you're supporting Donald Trump, commutations and pardons await you, and if you don't support Donald Trump, something else awaits you.
Absolutely, a strong signal from the White House. Former ambassador.
Yeah, this next 4 years, it is going to be something for sure. Everybody, especially people who work in federal government, need to understand that you're going to have to take your job seriously. Okay, you're going to have to go to work because there is no more work from home. You can't work from home no more because now the OG, the 47th, is back and he wants you to get your butt to work. Okay, just like every regular Americans. They go to work, they wake up early, they set an alarm, it goes off in the morning, they get their coffee, and they go to work. Same thing for federal workers. And I believe prosperity is here. This is what I believe. This next 4 years would be prosperity. You just got to take advantage of it.
Sources tell CNN that Trump administration officials have discussed inviting some pardoned January 6 convicts to the White House for a potential visit and meeting with the president. One of the officers attacked on January 6, Michael Fanone, joins us now. First, your reaction to these discussions happening in the White House, Michael, to invite some of the rioters to the White House.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Donald Trump has, ingratiated himself with these violent criminals ever since he announced his candidacy from Waco, Texas. That being said, it's obviously outrageous. It's an insult. But Donald Trump is an insurrectionist president, and so I think it's fitting, to be honest with you.
Tell us more about this phone call that police received. I'm assuming you received it from DOJ as well, that the January 6 rioters who were testified against will be released.
Interestingly enough, I didn't get those phone calls, but I know that the individuals that were charged with assaulting have been released. And let's talk about who these individuals are, because I want the American people to understand fully. I want every person that comes on CNN and defends these pardons to understand who these individuals were. They are Daniel Rodriguez, an individual who applied a taser device to my neck while I was being restrained multiple times. Daniel Rodriguez admitted his conduct, pled guilty, and was sentenced to 12.5 years in prison. He is now free. Kyle Young pled guilty, admitted that while I was being restrained, assaulted, and beaten, he attempted to remove my gun from its holster, all while individuals were telling him to kill me with my gun. Thomas Civic, who stripped me of my badge and radio, again, while I was being assaulted and restrained, and Albuquerque Cosper Head, who grabbed me around the neck, pulled me off a police line out into the crowd of these violent insurrectionists, allowing this assault to take place while he yelled out, "I've got one." These are violent criminals whose conduct on January 6th, many of whom pled guilty to and were sentenced to lengthy jail sentences. They are all now free. Make no mistake about it, I am less safe. My family is less safe because of what Donald Trump and the American people who supported him have done.
Everything you just mentioned, what has the impact been on you personally with your physical health and your mental health?
I'm still here. I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm going to push back against these outrageous actions by Donald Trump and his supporters.
You say that you feel less safe, that your family is less safe now that these rioters that you mentioned have been pardoned. How so? Tell us about that and how you feel less safe right now.
I mean, listen, these are individuals who assaulted law enforcement officers at the behest of Donald Trump, the president. They are now free. Donald Trump has told the American people, if you commit crimes on my behalf, I've got your back. I will pardon you. I will absolve you of any accountability. What message do you think that sends to Donald Trump's supporters? People like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, these violent anti-government groups who Donald Trump has brought into his inner circle. It says, go out there and assault my detractors. Go out there and silence those that would stand up against me, and I will make sure that you are never held to account. The rule of law in this country is dead. Criminal justice in this country is dead. And people like...
So the rule of law and the criminal justice wasn't dead when Biden pardoned his son. I see. The BLM protesters that were burning police stations, courthouses, cars, looting in stores, Nike, Gucci, just breaking windows and doing things they were not supposed to do, burning down buildings. Are we going to say the rule of law isn't or doesn't apply to them? I guess not.
Myself cannot turn to the institutions traditionally charged with protecting American citizens from violent attacks just like this. Because the Department of Justice is not the independent body that we have all come to know and respect. The Department of Justice is Donald Trump's Department of Justice. The FBI is Donald Trump's FBI. Local law enforcement is Donald Trump's local law enforcement. Make no mistake about it. These police departments, they will fall in line with Donald Trump and his orders. You will not see the mass resignations that so many people have speculated would occur.
Of course, nobody is going to resign. Just like the celebrities that said, if Trump wins, I'm going to leave the United States. They're not leaving Beverly Hills, yo. They're not leaving Beverly Hills, yo. They're not. Same thing with Biden. When he was doing everything he did, Trump was indicted. I mean, what do you expect? Do I support this? Do I support violence? Absolutely not. I do not support or condone violence. But Donald Trump had his home raided by FBI. Republicans then would say it's Joe Biden's FBI. Same thing with this guy now. His name is Michael Fanone. He's saying it is Trump's FBI. Just division. This is all I hear. Division, trying to divide. Trump is now the president. He won by a landslide. 77 million plus voted for him. He won all swing states. So it's time to come together and say, you know what? How can we work together? Trump's FBI. Trump's. This is just going to cause more division. And trust, the media is going to run this for the next 4 years.
When Donald Trump comes in, tears up the Constitution, and starts doing whatever the hell he wants to do.
I believe we have sound from the Oath Keepers leader, Stewart Rhodes, who spoke after he was released from prison. I want to listen to that and then get your reaction to that on the other side, Michael. So let's listen.
Any regrets? No, I don't, because we did the right thing. We were there to protect Trump supporters from Antifa. We were there to protect and secure 2 permitted events on Capitol grounds where members of Congress were going to speak. The guys that went inside did not commit any crimes. In fact, they helped people. They helped the police and helped the people out.
He says he has no regrets. What do you say, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I would say to Stuart Rhodes. Go fuck yourself.
Okay.
You're a liar.
We didn't obviously get to beep that word out, but obviously this is personal to you, Michael. This is very personal to you. Have you been getting any threats? You talked about safety. You worried for your safety and for your family. Have you been getting any direct threats?
Of course it's going to say yes.
I never stopped getting threats.
There we go.
I mean, my family, the threats have never stopped. I didn't even make it through my congressional testimony during the Select Committee hearing before I received my first threat.
And they just continue.
In recent months, and they continue. In recent months, my mother has had her home swatted. She's a 76-year-old woman who lives alone. She has had bricks thrown at her house in the middle of the night. And just a few months ago, she was out raking the leaves in her front yard when an individual pulled up in a truck and threw a bag of shit on her.
Wow.
All because her son had the courage to testify about his experiences on January 6th as a police officer in this country.
What do you say to what Trump claims is that, the election is a referendum on this, the country has moved on, they don't care, they elected me anyway? What do you say to that and to the Americans who don't care? Go ahead.
I absolutely agree with President Trump. I believe that the election was in part a referendum on January 6th, and that most Americans, they don't care. Because the characteristics that many of us have come to associate with ourselves as Americans, things like honor, courage, integrity, are all bullshit.
Yes.
They've been replaced by things like selfishness,
okay, here we go.
Self-centeredness, and cowardice. And that's how we came to have Donald Trump as our president.
All right, Michael Fanone, thank you so much for coming on to talk. And I'm so sorry that your mother.
Did he just say cowardice? So Trump is a coward? Oh, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. After he almost got killed and he shouted, fight, fight, fight. Hey, hell no, he ain't no coward. Yeah, you can call him anything, but you can't call him a coward. Yeah, nobody's going to take that from you, dog.
The leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were free following the pardons yesterday. At the time back in 2021, you urged them to stand back and stand by. Is there now a place for them in the political conversation?
Well, we have to see. They've been given a pardon. I thought their sentences were ridiculous and excessive.
We'll have to see. Today, Tarrio spoke to Alex Jones and told him, quote, the people who did this, they need to feel the heat, they need to be put behind bars, and they need to be prosecuted. More now on all this from CNN's Donie O'Sullivan, who was outside the D.C. jail last night when all this went down and spoke today with some of the pardoned inmates.
You're a true patriot. I don't even know what to feel. I mean, I guess I should feel joy. Maybe I'm just shocked.
The end of a long road for Rachel Powell, pardoned by President Trump and released Tuesday from a jail here in Washington, D.C. Rachel became known as the Pink Hat Lady when footage emerged of her breaking a window at the Capitol with an ice axe during the January 6 attack. A mom to 8 and a grandmother to 7, I interviewed Rachel before she began what was supposed to be a years-long prison sentence last year.
How'd I have time to plan an insurrection when my life is busy like this?
On her release on Tuesday, she was met by activists who gave her new clothes, new boots, and a new pink hat.
Woo! Glory! Hallelujah! Thank you, Lord!
This man came from the Philadelphia jail. He got out at 3 a.m. That doesn't make sense. He's wearing prison shoes and Philadelphia's finest prison gear.
Pardoned January 6ers from elsewhere began arriving in Washington, like William Patrick Sarsfield III, who was convicted of a felony offense of obstruction of law enforcement during a civil disorder.
Well, I was heard through different apps and different programs and different phone calls from people that we still had brothers and sisters that were still locked up and haven't been released.
Still has his hat on. Biden sucks. That's why.
And being somebody that's been in D.C., that everybody should be released. If it's a pardon for J6ers, it's for all of us.
You got out of prison last night?
Well, I was locked up for 3.5 years, and I was taken to the halfway house on August 29th.
Robert Morse says he was released from a halfway house in Pittsburgh late last night and came to D.C. to celebrate.
Back up!
Morse, a former Army Ranger, was found guilty of assaulting police officers, among other crimes, on January 6th.
I had no intention of going anywhere near the Capitol that day. That's how crazy this got. So a lot of people were taken advantage of, and we were lured into a lobster trap that January 6th was designed to be.
In terms of personal responsibility, do you regret?
Completely, without a doubt. I said that in my sentencing speech. I said the words, Donald Trump did not force me or coerce me to do what I did that day. I did it on my own accord.
What's your message to people watching this who say, she shouldn't have been pardoned, none of these people should have got out of prison, they're criminals?
Okay, you know what? It's time to stop worrying about that and move forward in this country.
And Doni joins us. Now, what's happening at the jail tonight? What are you seeing?
I support her. It's time to move on in this country. Now, moving forward, if they do anything stupid, they're going to get it. You're going to get the boot. Okay, you're going to get the boot. But for now, let's move forward. Biden pardoned his entire family. Hunter Biden, he pardoned Liz Cheney, Mark Milley, he pardoned a lot of people, okay? So if we're gonna go back and forth, well, Trump pardoned this person, then Biden pardoned this person, it's over, okay? Let's move on, all right? And let's get this country to where it's supposed to be. Secure the border, stop the wars around the world, make sure we harness the energy we have, and just make America great, prosperous, healthy, RFK, like, that's what we should be worried about now, not this news. I mean, this happened. I'm not saying just, sweep it under the carpet, but can we move on? Or we're going to keep going back and forth. Hunter Biden's pardon, J6's pardon, Mark Milley's pardon, Liz Cheney's pardon. It's never going to end.
Hey, Anderson, yeah, just in the past few minutes, 3 more January 6ers were just released from the D.C. jail here. You can see they're giving interviews to local media and international press also gathered, but also a lot of MAGA media here. And one person who's just speaking over there, who I think we're showing on screen at the moment, is Jake Lang. He's a prisoner who has really built up a big social media following while he has been in prison over the past while. He's speaking there. So really, you can see just how emboldened these folks are. A lot of them are kind of going off and planning basically MAGA media careers. But what we've also seen here over the past few hours today is different groups and people, obviously big fans of us here, Anderson, groups gathering throughout the day, including the Proud Boys here. So really gives you a sense of the types of folks who are celebrating, at least here at the D.C. jail.
All right, Doni O'Sullivan, appreciate it.
Many of the president's allies would like to stop talking about the deadly assault on the Capitol, but Trump's sweeping pardons making that difficult, as the president himself was pressed by reporters on the issue when he spoke to them yesterday.
Aren't you sending the message?
Yeah, we're going to stop all that because, we don't want to see all of that no more. It's over.
On January 6th to stop the violent mob at the Capitol, you see him here barricading the doors to the House chamber with a desk from the House floor. So, Senator Mullin, you were there and you know what happened that day. Do you wish President Trump would have only pardoned nonviolent offenders? Obviously, that was clear that he was going to do that, instead of the blanket pardon he issued.
Well, I think what happened is after President Biden did the preemptive pardon on his family members and on the Jan 6 committee, I think it all changed. And this is President Trump's prerogative. He's the President of the United States now. And the American people, November 5th, chose to move on past January 6th. It was a regretful day. It should have never taken place. There was no question it was a riot. I saw it with my own eyes. But President Trump is the President of the United States, and things changed. Even President Biden, remember, 4 years ago said that a preemptive pardon shows guilt, but yet he went ahead and did that. And as I said, I think everything changed after President Biden did what he did 15 minutes before he left office.
So obviously, I'm not going to equate one versus the other. I do just want to point out the point, Senator, as you and I know, anyone watching knows, there's no way that they got 700 pardons ready in those few hours, right? Those were ready to go.
No,
it wasn't after President Biden made the decision about his family and the January 6th
I believe it was 42 executive orders with 200 actions on them. And there was a change, but it doesn't.
On the first day, 42 executive orders with 200 actions on them. This is just mind-blowing. On the first night, yeah, he's done more. A lot of people are saying he's done more than Biden has ever done for the past 4 years. Some people are even saying that the past 50 years.
It doesn't take too long to put a full and complete pardon on January 6th. It simply changes a piece of paper. And I get people are upset at those that provided violence, and especially to our officers, who many are my friends. Yep. But at the same time, I'm not saying it's fair, but at the same time, President Biden changed all this. Remember the 37 murderers that he commuted their sentences? Remember 2 of them, one that he pardoned, the one that he pardoned killed 2 FBI agents. Another one literally beat an officer to death with a hammer.
Now she's looking down because there's nothing to say. He's telling you the fact. Joe Biden pardoned people that actually killed FBI agents. This is facts, true. He pardoned them. So what do you expect? You guys want to talk about J6s? What do you expect? You pardoned your entire family. What do you expect? What do you expect? Trump was president for 4 years. He never pardoned any of his children. He never pardoned any of his family, personal family members. No. He pardoned his son-in-law's father, one of them. Son-in-law's father. That's even another family member. That's not his kids. Joe Biden pardoned his entire family. Trump never pardoned any of his children, any of his family members. So it's like, this is supposed to just like, okay, we've heard it. The people on the right, the people on the left, it's time to move on.
Sentences. Remember 2 of them, one that he pardoned, the one that he pardoned killed 2 FBI agents. Another one literally beat an officer to death with a hammer. And another one literally tied up a woman who had accused him of rape, tied her up in duct tape, put a center block around her, and threw her over a bridge live. And so you remember that the violence that he pardoned, and I'm just
Jesus
and
Christ.
Another one literally tied up a woman who had accused him of rape, tied her up in duct tape, put a center block around her, and threw her over a bridge live. And
yeah, hey, and he pardoned that person, ladies and gentlemen, y'all. And you want to talk, and y'all want to talk about J6ers? Are you listening to this right here? Are y'all listening to this right here?
Sentences. Remember 2 of them, one that he pardoned, the one that he pardoned killed 2 FBI agents. Another one literally beat an officer to death with a hammer. And another one literally tied up a woman who had accused him of rape, tied her up in duct tape, put a center block around her, and threw her over a bridge live. And so you remember that the violence that he pardoned, and I'm just saying you got to compare both of them, Aaron. If you're going to cover the story, cover both stories, because neither one of them is
Senator,
great.
there two things though. First, I want to talk about first of all, saying somebody else jumped off a bridge, so I'm going to jump off the bridge too, is not an excuse that any of us would generally find acceptable. So I just putting aside Biden did this, so Trump did this. I want to talk about your feelings about it. You talk about these as officers, you know. You were there. You say it's a riot. You were yelling in rioters' faces. You were blockading a door as they were attacking the Capitol. And you've talked about what you saw, right? You've talked about what you saw, that you walked in a room and saw people that had officers that had broken limbs, noses broken. You talked about it yourself. Let me just play some of that.
I hollered at him and I says, I'd put you down. And I said, I'd put you down. And the guy looked at me and he says, this is our house. I said, it's our house too. He says, yeah, but this is our effing house. And I said, it's our house too. And we're not going to let you come in.
And that was an exchange, Senator, that you described having with one of the rioters. In the context of what we're talking about here, just this particular pardons, how can you defend people like that?
I am not trying to defend the individuals whatsoever. That's not what I'm trying to do. And I get what you're saying by jumping off a bridge. I'm saying things changed when President Biden did what they did, and both are equally bad. And neither one should be assaulting police officers at any time, especially those that Biden pardoned that killed each other, or that killed officers. Now, going back to what happened, it was a horrible day, Aaron. I said it was a horrible day. However, the American people have chose to move on. That was evident with the overwhelming support that President Trump got November 5th. And he did not hide his disdain for the Department of Justice, who was openly targeting individuals. Keep in mind, over half the individuals that was pardoned here, Aaron, were people that got misdemeanors for parading on public lands and picketing on public lands. And you know that to be a fact.
Senator, yes, and we knew that he was going to pardon those individuals. I don't think anybody was under any illusions about that, right? But the ones who did the violence, when you heard Officer Fanone talking about 6 individuals who was that are your friends who are on the receiving end of this, what do you say to them today?
Well, I mean, Aaron, I don't mean to be beating a drum here, but I just want to make sure that reporting is equal. What does the individuals, what does the Biden administration, what does this station say to the individuals that they lost 2 of their family members that were FBI agents? What about the officer that was beat to death with a hammer? All I'm trying to...
Exactly. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street, y'all. It is a two-way street. It goes both ways. You guys could talk about J6ers, but then the Republican Party is going to talk about all of this that this guy is talking about. So it's like, you want to keep doing this for the next 4 years? Or you want to just say, you know what? You're wrong. We're wrong. We get it. Let's start on a clean slate and get it moving and get the country where it's supposed to go. Move on. It has happened. He's already pardoned who is going to pardon. He's probably still going to pardon a lot of people as we keep going. However, it's like, just move on now. Secure the border. Reduce the cost of living, the gas prices, bring down mortgage rates, bring down interest rate. Keep it going. Bring back excellence into the United States. Or you're going to keep talking about this for the next 4 years. Oh, he pardoned J6ers. That's what you're going to talk about for the next 4 years. Waste of time.
Say is, let's make sure we're not just focusing on President Trump and his pardon.
But Senator,
let's keep in mind that the outgoing
Senator, I understand what you're saying.
President Biden did even worse.
Well, no, I'm not going to accept that premise. But I will just take you on one clear fact, right? You are here to talk about January 6th. It's just like when you and I both speak to our own children. They come and say, well, but Joey did this and this is just as bad. No, I want to talk about you.
100%.
And what happened with you. So what I'm talking about here in this context of you and me having a conversation is January 6th. And something that you were there, that you called a riot, that you said you walked into a room and you saw people whose limbs had been broken, noses had been broken, people who are your friends. And the people who did that, the perpetrators of those acts, are now pardoned. That's just a simple thing for you to answer, separate from what anybody else did. Are you okay with that?
No, what I'm saying is the American people has chose to move on. I have my personal feelings on it, but the American people have chose to move on, and President Trump, it's his prerogative to do this. He did not hide that he was going to pardon January 6 individuals that was wrongfully charged by the DOJ. I get what you're saying about the violent crimes. However, that is still the president's prerogative, just like it was Joe Biden's prerogative to parole the 37 murders or commute their sentences. It is still the president's prerogative to do.
Exactly. We're going to go back and forth forever if you're going down this route. It is going to be forever. Well, Joe Biden did as well. You know, I'm talking about what Trump did, not what Joe Biden did. And the person is still going to say, well, Joe Biden. This is going to go on forever. Can you move forward and bring back greatness, bring back jobs, bring back low gas prices, bring back low grocery prices, secure the border, stop the wars? Can we just do that rather than going back and forth like this?
That, regardless of you and I agree with it or not. And the American people chose to put President Trump in office by overwhelming support. What is sad is that we continue to talk about this, and we're not talking about the other executive orders that literally put the American people back on track, which they wanted.
There are a lot of them to talk about. Again, just talking to you about this specifically, I just wonder whether you're worried about what this does to the rule of law. The American people can vote for what they vote for, right? But our courts are independent from the executive office. That's the way it's supposed to be. And again, you can say, well, this person did this and this did this, but in this moment, this is what happened. I mean, Enrique Tarrio, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy for coordinating and directing the attacks, is free. And he said, Senator, and I quote him, he just gave an interview to Alex Jones. He said, the people who did this, they need to feel the heat. They need to be put behind bars and they need to be prosecuted. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, if you're talking about the rule of law, President Trump is a person that's reinstating the rule of law. He's the one that has closed down the lawlessness that was happening on the border. He's the one that's going to aggressively go after criminals in the cities. He's going to close down the sanctuary cities. He's the one that's going to enforce law. He's not the one that weaponized the DOJ in his first administration. He's not going to weaponize the DOJ this time like the Biden administration did. So if you're talking about rule of law, I'm not worried about it. In fact, I'm excited that President Trump is going to actually enforce the rule of law once again, because what separates us from a third world country is that we enforce the law and we respect the law. Third world country kind of does whatever they want to. That's why people wanted to come to the United States, because they wanted security, they wanted confidence, they wanted to know they could live in peace, and that we didn't see that underneath the Biden administration.
All right, Senator Mullen, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Thank you, Aaron.
Nobody won. You just had that conversation and everybody was blaming each other. You this, you that. Look at what's going on at the border, yo. So this is migrants in southern Mexico they're traveling to the United States. Somos emigrantes, no somos. And this is something, right? Mexico should really, like the leadership in Mexico, they should be ashamed. I'm not gonna, like, this is just common sense. If you have your people trying to get out of your country, doing everything in their power to leave Mexico to come to the United States, and this is happening, and you have a president, and she's just, what is she doing? Make life better for your people. You cannot have your people walking and singing and saying, we're going to the United States. Why do you have leadership? Why do you have leadership in your country, Mexico? This is just sad. Yeah, that's way too sad, y'all. Too sad. It is too sad to see these guys are coming in, and it's like, and they have a president? Come on, man. Come on. Do better for your people.
Great to see all of you here.
How you doing?
Fancy seeing you. Can you explain to us the executive order undermining the president's AI decision yesterday?
Why don't you go first?
Can you
explain the executive orders that the president is signing today? You referenced them a bit in your interview, but just can you set the what is he doing this afternoon?
I believe it was Reuters who broke the news that President Trump signed an executive order of 1,500 additional troops to the United States southern border. This comes off of his day one action, as I just talked about on Fox News, to direct the Department of Defense to make Homeland Security a core mission of the agency. This is something President Trump campaigned on. The American people have been waiting for such a time as this. for our Department of Defense to actually take Homeland Security seriously. This is a #1 priority of the American people, and the president is already delivering.
But can you confirm that it's a new one?
He's already signed it, though, Caroline. He already signed it, Caroline. Do we expect to see him at all today?
Caroline, can you confirm that this is a new executive order? I just commented on Elon Musk undermining the president's AI announcement. I just spoke about it on Fox News. Caroline, what are they doing on the border?
Thank you.
Securing the southern border and deporting illegal immigrants from this country.
Order.
Securing the southern border and deporting illegal immigrants from this country. President Trump is sending a very strong message to people around this world. If you are thinking about breaking the laws of the United States of America, you will be returned home, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted. Do not come.
Do not come, y'all. Oh my goodness. It is about to be spicy for this next 4 years, y'all. The border is sealed, y'all. It's over. Straight up over. Nobody thought this was gonna happen. People were like, maybe he's just making too much promises. But this is what is going on right here. Security has increased. Man, everybody's so glad right now. A president that you actually vote for that does exactly what he campaigned on. Incredible. Incredible, y'all. Ew. Migrants are stuck at U.S.-Mexico border after of course the 47th Trump ends CBP One app. It's closed.
Lo del CBP One era el programa, era para esta situación, CBP One. Entonces, ahorita acabó CBP One, no hay continuación del programa, ¿sale?
Ew. And you have leadership in Mexico. You have your people. You're literally looking at your people trying to escape your country. And you're here trying to fight Trump over Gulf of America. She's saying that Gulf of America, we could call it Mexican American. Mexicana American. What are you saying? Focus on this. Your people are running away from your country. You are the leader. Provide some incentive to stay home. Provide. Your people are running away. Man, you better leave that Gulf of America alone.
En esa cuestión del programa acabó. Ahorita va información de licenciada para las personas que no escucharon, porque dicen que no escucharon, ¿sale? Una pregunta, licenciada.
Hay llanto y incertidumbre, de todo hay de todo. Entonces, ¿qué pensamos hacer? O sea, en inmigración tampoco nos podrá ayudar para poder avanzar. ¿Qué piensan? O sea, entonces, ¿qué piensan hacer con nosotros? ¿Qué creen? ¿Que somos unos animales? También somos seres humanos y tienen que entender que también tienen familia.
Bueno, estamos esperando por migración a ver qué luz verde nos da, porque aquí estamos frenados, no podemos hacer nada. Entonces necesitamos una respuesta de migración lo más pronto posible, porque
O sea, no
hay una
podemos ni
necesidad.
avanzar porque ajá, ¿cómo
Hay una
avanzamos?
necesidad.
No tenemos-
Oh my goodness, yo.
No nos ofrecen una solución, entonces quieren que nos quede.
Whoa. It's just the kids that have to go through all of this stuff. Too sad, yo. Too sad. Too sad. Hopefully, I mean, there's nothing I can say because Tom Holman is not playing. He's gonna send everybody home, yo. If you came in here illegally, this is the thing, like, do not come in here illegally. Try as much as you can. Try and come here legally so you can become a citizen. America wants you to become a citizen. This is just the facts. This is the truth. If you come in here legally, you go through Homeland Security. USCIS wants you to become a citizen of the United States. I promise you. Your first act cannot be coming in here, sneaking in here illegally. You're just going to hide for the rest of your life. You're going to hide for the rest of your life. You don't want that. You don't want to hide for the rest of your life. You don't want, I mean, you want to do things. You want to take trips with your family. You want to take care of your kids. You want to go outside. You want to do stuff. You don't want to hide for the rest of your life. Try to do it legally. It's hard, I know, but you have to.
So ICE deportation operations have officially begun with a focus on immediate threats to public safety. It comes as border state Arizona introduced their ICE Act, would officially require the state to comply with ICE detainers, but the state's AG speaking out against the president's plan.
I also will not have any part of and will fight the attempt to set up what I believe are essentially concentration camps and family separation camps in the state of Arizona.
Here to explain it all, border czar Tom Holman. All right, Tom, listen, before I get to these Democratic AGs, can you give me the latest numbers on the border?
Absolutely. Look, the greatest president in my lifetime, he's back. Because in 2 days, last 24 hours, total apprehensions on the southwest border, 766. Compare that to the 10,000 to 12,000 Biden had at one time. CBP-1 releases, 0. CHNV, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela releases, 0. Total of 766 across the entire southwest border. That is a game changer.
And that is just some of the plans that have been implemented so far. Now let's talk about the 22 governors, Democratic governors that plan on the attorney generals that are doing this. Tell me the legal authority that they have and the legal authority you guys have if they plan on resisting federal law.
Look, I find it strange that the Attorney General from Arizona makes such statements because there was a lawsuit in Arizona a few years ago, the Show Me Your Papers lawsuit in highest courts in the land that said immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility. Federal responsibility. She has no say in the matter. And look, I've said many times, we said right out of the gate, Lawrence, right out of the gate, we're going to concentrate on public safety threats. So she's saying that she doesn't want public safety threats out of her community. I also am insulted by the term concentration camps. Are you serious? You're comparing ICE agents. We just lost a Border Patrol agent to a shooting up in Vermont yesterday, and they're the Gestapo. Are you serious? Concentration camps? ICE has detention centers. They have the best standards in the entire industry. I'll compare ICE detention standards to any state or federal facility or any county facility in the entire world. We have the highest detention standards, so that's an insult and it's a lie.
Yeah, it is insulting to the agents, the men and women that do the job. Let's talk about ICE visiting folks, because when I look at it, I look at the law, people that have final deportation orders, people that are criminal aliens. What would a person have to do to get a visit from ICE?
For it to be in the country illegally, first of all, I mean, there's nothing in the immigration laws.
First of all, be in the country illegally and you're going to get a visit.
You got to be convicted of a serious crime to be removed under the INA. So if you're in the country illegally, ICE can visit you. But right now, as we said repeatedly, and the President Trump's been clear, we're concentrating on the worst first, the public safety threats and national security threats. And just yesterday, in the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308 serious criminals. Some of them were murderers, some of them were rapists, some of them raped a child, some were sexual assault of a child. So ICE is doing their job, and they're prioritizing just as the president said they would. So the ICE is performing excellent right now out in the field, and they're going to continue every day.
You know, Democrats loved you at one point. Now they don't like you so much, Tom. But back in the day, you served in the Obama administration as well. We had Jay Johnson on last week to talk about the border. This is what he said about you. Let's watch it.
When I was in office as Secretary of DHS, I made no significant decision on enforcement policy without having in the room Tom Homan, who worked for me, Kevin McAleenan, who went on to be acting secretary under Donald Trump, two pro-enforcement guys, and then two people on the other side of the spectrum.
So, Tom, you've been doing this for a long time amongst both administrations. You just want the border secure.
I want to save lives. Secure border saves lives. And when President Trump locks this border down, less women and children be sex trafficked in this country. Less aliens would die making that journey. Under President Biden, we've had a record number of people die crossing that border. 600% increase in sex trafficking. And look at the 250,000 young Americans dead from fentanyl. We secured a border, the fentanyl deaths has decreased. Sex trafficking has decreased. Deaths on the border decreased. So it's just about saving lives. Secure borders save lives. And plus, look, you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security.
That's right.
We need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where's coming in, why it's coming in. So, again, President Trump, game changer, already made a significant difference on that border. This country is already safer
Tom,
because of President Trump.
I don't want to give the criminals any type of leeway here so they can react toward this interview, but what's the next move? What's the next option on the table to get more safety in this country?
Well, DOD they're going to assist us on the border. They already started on that plan, so we're going to have some military on the border. We're going to continue building infrastructure. We're going to continue building the wall. As far as the interior enforcement, we're going to keep looking for the worst first. And look, the sanctuary cities, I've said this many times, let us into the jail where it's safer for an agent to arrest a bad guy. It's safer for the bad guy to be arrested in jail. And it's safer for the community. When you release a public safety threat back in the community, that puts the community at great risk of crime, and it puts our officers at great risk because now they got to arrest the bad guy in his truck if he has access to who knows what weapons, and it puts the public at risk. You know, for God's sakes, these sanctuary cities, you know, let us into your jail. We're just trying to help public safety in your community. Help work with us because you force us in the community. Here's what's going to happen. We'll find the bad guy, but when we find him, he's going to be with others. Others that may not be a criminal priority, but guess what? If they're in the United States illegally, they're going to be arrested too. So sanctuary.
Just common sense, y'all. Let them into prison and let them do their job.
City's going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the communities, more people arrested, more collaterals arrested. So that's a game they want to play. Game on.
Game on, yo. Tom Homan, game on. He ain't like this right here. He's not playing around, yo. People say his face looks like the border wall. Is that true? Tom Homan, does his face look like the border wall? Let me know, man. Okay, so this is happening at the border. Man, check this out, y'all. Mexico installs tent to house migrants deported from the United States. Check this out. It's back, y'all. Trump is back. Look how fast change is happening. He just became the president of the United States 2 days ago. Literally 2 days ago. And it's already feeling like he's been here for 2 years. This song, y'all. Wow. Promises made, promises kept. Literally, promises made, promises kept. He said he was going to do this. He campaigned on this, and this is what we're getting. Exactly what we voted for. If you voted for Trump, if you're among the 77 million people that voted for Trump, you knew he was going to do this. That was why you voted for him. And there you have it. Promises made, promises kept. Legendary. Just legendary, y'all. All right, another one. The border wall. Matter of fact, we're going to get this real fast. All right. So, border wall construction at Tijuana, Mexico, start up again after Trump takes office. It's already starting. President Donald J. Trump may go down as the most efficient, the most hardworking president to ever walk into the White House. This is just 2 days, yo. Today is the 22nd of January. He was sworn in on the 20th. 2 days. And this is already going on. Amazing. Actually, this was yesterday. This was January 21st, 2025. This was yesterday. This speed is incredible. Amazing. Thank you for tuning into the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't liked, double tap your screen. And we also have memberships. It is $4.99. Join the memberships. If you like the channel, join the memberships. And we're going to be back here tonight. It is currently 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I am in Georgia. It snowed yesterday. Of course, if you are in Southeast, you know for a fact that there's been like a snow wave or, whatever wave going on. And you better be safe if you are in the Southeast or anywhere in the United States. Be safe. Okay. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. And believe in Almighty God, okay? Thank you to the veterans. Thank you to the active military members. God bless you. Thank you for your service. And take care of your family. Take care of your kids. Men, take care of your family, okay? Take care of your kids because it makes a difference when you take care of your kids. Men, okay? Women, they've been doing what they could for years, okay? So this is for men, okay? Take care of your kids, all right? I love you guys. I'll be right back. Genesis is signing out of the premises, okay? I love you guys.